Hey there, I'm Eternal. I'm an object show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome in to Object Catchup. This is where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. And for today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a proper classic. Yes, as the oldest request, standing in at probably back when Obama was president, to be honest. We have had the request to take a look at Brawl of the Objects. Yes, Brawl of the Objects, one of the OG object shows, and we will be doing that today, watching the full season in this episode. I have no idea how long that is going to take me, but hopefully I can get it done. Created by Anko6, or as you might know it, Anthony Cause, the creator of many tracks and songs in the OSC, some of the most popular like Karma Waits and Hey 2. It all started a long while back with one of the biggest object shows of its time, of like 2013 era, indeed, Brawl of the Objects. Now, as a little bit of a clarification, we are going to watch Brawl of the Objects in the official way that it is told to watch. So instead of watching the episodes that have that million plus view to them, we are instead going to go over to the official playlist. So we're going to be taking a look at the remastered variants that were released around 2023 for the first 10 episodes, and then of course we'll return back to the past to watch the back 3. Now, I believe that this is fine to do because, well, first of all, it's the recommendation, right? It's how the creator says it. It's the playlist. It's the official way to watch these. It's just the way to do it, right? So that makes sense. And also, you know, especially looking at these runtimes, of course, I don't really know what the differences are, quote unquote. I see that these running times, they're so unbelievably similar, right? That we end up that it feels like it's not going to be much of a writing change. You know, writing isn't really going to change too much. It's kind of going to be like, it'll look better, it'll sound better, and it'll be like if the episode, you know, just had a bit of a higher production budget. But I think that the foundation of the show itself, I believe, stays the same. However, I don't know if I do ever find out that it's different. Maybe sometime we'll take a look at Brawl of the Objects, the original episodes, in a future episode. But for now, we're taking a look at how Anko wants us to watch it, which is the remasters. We're starting off here with episode 1, the remaster, of course, of episode 1, which is entitled How It All Began. Here we go. Okay, so that is Brawl of the Objects, Episode 1, How It All Began, Remastered. Alright, well, that is intriguing. And now, there's one thing which, however, is going to be a little bit of a problem for me, is that I'm not 100% sure what was remastered, right? As far as I'm aware, I believe that we've gone from 4x3 to widescreen, right? The original episode might have been 4x30. And then we've also improved on mic quality, right? On audio quality, which is interesting because, like, are the voice lines re-recorded, or because I no, because the reason is I would doubt the voice line would be re-recorded because the episode is exactly the same length. Like, every episode is exactly the same length. So, like, I'd almost doubt that the line is re-recorded. But then it's like, okay, well then, how is the line fit? How did we improve the mic quality? You know, like how did we do that? I don't know. I'm just gonna trust that it did. All right, you know what? Show, good job. All right. So that is Brawl of the Objects. Now, we end up starting ourselves with the classic little chit chatter, and we begin here with a party hat saying that it reminds you of those times that you were on BOTO and II, because if I'm not mistaken, that was a recommended character, which, oh my god, dude. And it'd be like, damn, I wish that we could be on a show like that. All we need is a host. And then, of course, eventually, in a little bit later, Controller shows up to host Brawl of the Objects. One of the most interesting things to me about that like first batch of shows, right? That first batch of object shows to have propped up, right? Is that you can tell how they were like, you can tell that it wasn't quite a genre, right? Like the concept of an object show wasn't really a genre back in the day where these shows ended up making it, right? Which means that they're much more treated as like a BFDI fan series, right? More than it necessarily was an object show as its own genre. It's only later that after V shows made it big, that terminology starts to exist, because you can tell from, like, for example, how this mentions it, how II mentions it, how Paper Puppets mentions it, right? How these classic shows, they mention BFDI directly by name. I think even Overload mentions it, right? Like, okay, maybe not sure about that, but like, we have direct mentions of like, hey, I want to be, this show is like BFDI, like they directly mention that it inspires them and stuff, because like, yeah, it wasn't necessarily a thing, so you don't want to look like a copycat, right? Because I'm presuming that, that is a lot of the fear back in the day, right? It's like kind of like, okay, well, I don't want to look like a copycat. I want to look like my own thing, right? However, I'm inspired, a similar style but different thing, right? So you kind of have to be like, oh, hey, I want to do something that's like BFDI, but it's different, right? Like all these scenarios. And I think it's interesting how nearly all of the original shows, like Paper Puppets, for example, and all this stuff, they end up using it. So we end up having, of course, our introduction to the various characters. We end up having a pizza fella. We end up having a pear, which is a bit of a mini head, as you might say. We end up having Hot Dog, who's apparently a very good knitter, pretty soft emotionally. We end up having a chocolate fella that's pretty normal. We end up having the pine cone that's super small, so a bunch of people are inconsiderate. We end up having a baguette that speaks French, interesting French skills. Now, okay, I'll be honest, I don't know French. I don't know French. Like, it doesn't immediately strike me as the best French. However, I also don't really know, right? So, like, it's, like, I'm just vibing it, so I'm not gonna judge the French, alright? But, it's kind of cool. I think it's a nice idea. If somebody can, if the VA can speak another language, sure, throw in a character that's another language, right? Why not, right? We end up having, the shield, then we end up having a straw, that's the only legless contestant. Scissors, that's the more generic mean character, right? That is bullying them. Then we end up having the boat, that's kind of on a friend group with the shell as well. They like water. And then the host shows up to do all of the objects. So as far as I'm aware, this works, I think, nearly exactly like BFDI, maybe, because like it's an episode a month, right? Which is how BFDI used to do it, and then with that episode per month, you have a challenge in the episode, and then one person gets eliminated. Now that original explanation does not actually showcase the friggin' like it does not showcase the existence of a viewer vote, which is intriguing. So I guess we'll need to see if it's there. I doubt that this is a contestant vote show. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Maybe it is, But yeah, we end up getting a couple of extra details. Such as the recovery center being like a recovery launcher. So yeah, it's better to not be dead. Recovery is looking complicated. And then we end up having ourselves a challenge. So the challenge is to get to the finish line. Yep, the finish line. Wherever it is, who the hell knows? You will get to. Yeah, it's an intriguing thing. You can just get. Yeah, you just can't make. You made it to the finish line. The finish line ends up being on a random patch of grass, and somehow the team that ends up pulling it off after, of course, some teams are banned. To be like, okay, let's form an alliance. That way, if we win, we can pick the teams and stuff. I mean, having party hat that's not capable of driving a car, so they end up driving their car off a cliff and stuff. However, they actually managed to drive their car off a cliff perfectly into the ground, where the finish line is Scissors was about to get there. I have no idea why Scissors got this tired. It was like 3 sets. Scissors, you gotta do more exercise, man. You gotta start exercise a little bit more. As I don't know what you're doing out here. You're out here limping over it. Like, come on, you can take one step. Why you didn't fall? What happened? But yeah, the car ends up driving over the finish line, which means that the front 2 drivers of the car, which were Party Hat as well as the Pizza Slicer, end up being the fella that choose the teams. Possibly unfortunate, because of course, in these type of team challenges, you almost don't want 2 people which get along to be the team leaders, of course, because having 2 people that get along be the team leaders means that they're going to need to, of course, definitely be separated in terms of team, right? Because, they lead the different teams. So that'll be intriguing to see. But yeah, Scissors is upset, and then we end up having, they're waiting for the next month. I'm a big fan of the silence, being like, okay, I'll wait, and then just silence for 20 seconds. And there we go. That is, Brawl of the Objects 1. Does it hold up? But nearly all of these episodes count as top dog episodes in their original form, having over 1 million views. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need to see it develop. It's an episode 1 that I think is kind of convincing. It's paced well, which is the nice part about it. It doesn't drag on, which is the one thing that can really hurt a show. So I think that's probably this early episode's biggest strength. It doesn't drag, and even though of course it's a little generic what happens it ends up that it's nice, it's fun, it's paced well, and I didn't mind watching it at all. Episode 2 of Brawl of the Objects is entitled BOTO the Video Game, or B.O.T.O the Video Game, remastered of course. Go. Okay, that is episode 2 of Brawl of the Objects, BOTO the Video. I'm gonna say BOTO, right? I feel like saying B.O.T.O, it's kind of like, I don't know, because it has O twice, like, it's kind of, feels a bit weird, B.O.T.O, right? I don't know, BOTO just sounds a bit better. But yeah, Brawl of the Objects, episode 2 here, BOTO the Video Game. And I must admit, I'm very surprised by this episode. I'm very pleasantly surprised by this episode. What a nice little episode. And, just quickly checking the original, yeah, it seems like the remaster doesn't really do that much different other than just kind of clean up aspect ratio and stuff. So, generally make it a bit crisper, right? And, this means that, majority of the work being portrayed is just that original, 2013, 2014 is. And in that case, I have to admit, it's very impressive. It's very impressive. This is a nice, cool little challenge here. Sending everybody to the 8-bit pixel realm and, having them perform in this game. Now, this is a challenge idea that we have seen a game or another try to do. However, I feel like on average we don't commit as much to that line of thinking as we'd usually. I'm trying to think. I remember one show that this type of level with lives challenge, but I can't remember what it was. God dang it. I remember it was a flagpole and stuff, whatever. I'm sorry, I don't remember it, but it exists. So we have seen certain interpretations of, well, I guess now this challenge in future times, but we never go literally all the way, right? Because what this was willing to do is, in a way, right, by being super early in the show and super early in the season, it's kind of not exactly nailed down its style yet, right? Which means that it gains that additional power of breaking its own conventionality to arrive here with a challenge that is a little bit different, right? And that, I think, is something that, some certain shows would be scared to do nowadays, right? I feel like an audio would be scared to do a challenge like this because it would break the form of their challenge, right? Because then it feels like a gimmick, right? Like, oh no, the episode's gonna look completely different, and oh no, the characters are not gonna be able to speak. They're always gonna be text boxes, and that's not gonna be what people were here to watch, right? People are gonna need to read it, and it's not gonna be good, right? And and I can stand because now that there's a bit more focus on style, there's a bigger fear of breaking up the style, right? So I feel like this type of challenge, a lot of people might be against doing it. However, I think the perception of this is very positive, right? Like, it's a nice challenge, and it's a nice change of pace, right? So honestly, I would say I would say you could get inspired from this stuff, you know? Like, you can see that even in this OG show, right? The OG show was not afraid to completely switch up what it was for an episode for the sake of performing the challenge super early, even if it might be a turnoff, and it ends up being a nice, powerful piece that ends up growing the series as a whole by having this unique challenge and this unique idea. So I actually do enjoy it. Now, we start off here by revealing the prize. The prize is whatever is in the box. What is in the box? I don't know, but Particle ends up opening it. And then discovering, and then getting absolutely stun locked by whatever it is until Controller ends up hiding it away. We don't know what's in the box, and I mean, Particle will say, no, they're too stun locked by what it is. I'm just gonna assume it's like Pandora's box or whatever, and it's like everything is in there. Wait, no, isn't Pandora's box bad? What is a Pandora's box, anyways? It's something, but yeah, we end up doing that. We end up having then the team picking. We have our contestants eat a shit ton of watermelons. Why? Because we felt like it. Yeah, and whoever eats more gets to go first. Not exactly sure why, but you know, it's the vibe. It is what it is. Also, they swallowed 20 watermelons. That is a lot of watermelons. But yeah, here you can see Controller, you know, harnessing in their inner Mifa, you know, kind of trolling the audience just by going for it. And I think that it's fun, right? To see these hosts be, you know, like do that evil host archetype. But yeah, honestly, if I was these two, I would have just not eaten watermelons, to be honest. I mean, like, the advantage, like, picking first is cool or whatever, but the advantage of picking first is not, like, that big. You know, like, unless there's one specific person that's just OP that you really have to pick first, then it's like, otherwise you'll be at a massive disadvantage. You don't need to go first, right? So, it's fine. I then ended up picking the team. Look at that kitty. Look at that kitty recommended character. That's actually such a good drawing. But either way, we end up having them pick out the teams. We don't get to see their team names, and either way, in this challenge, it doesn't matter too much because it's a mostly individual challenge, right? We end up discovering that Scissors, nobody went to Scissors' birthday party. To be fair, if you don't invite anybody, fun fact, if you don't invite anybody to your birthday party, you are not going to have people show up to your birthday party. Take notes. Now, also, if you're doing a birthday party, host it in a place, right, and not in like the middle of grass. Go to coordinate 47.33, like what you can Minecraft. But either way, we end up having the video game. Everybody has 3 lives. You have to make it to the end and save the princess to be safe. Otherwise, there will be obstacles that can murder you. You might get power-ups and all that stuff. It explains everything, and it does good job at it, you know, like it explains, like it takes 10 seconds to explain this challenge, and overall it just shows off all of the elements of it, right? Which means that it's easy to say, like, okay, there's power-ups, it's a game. Like, at the end of the day, yes, it is a simple concept in theory, but like it manages to explain how it works. It shows the example down at the bottom, and then when you see it, you're not really surprised, right? Like, it's doing what it has to do. It really is. And then we end up heading into the video game challenge itself. So, the fellas are not very good at this. I'm just gonna be straight up. Our characters over here, their skills at platforming are of dubious quality at best, but you know, they sometimes jump, they sometimes miss and stuff. There's even like Pinecone that's having a hell of a struggle because, you know, like their asset is just literally smaller, so they jump less. But yeah, while they're struggling with that, a bunch of characters doing it. A couple of critiques though is that unfortunately the pacing on this episode maybe is not as good as the last one, because I was really happy with the pacing on episode 1. The pacing on this episode 2 it definitely was struggling a little bit because, like, you know, it kind of suffered from how do I best say this? Needing to show too much for our own exposition, right? Which kind of halts it down, right? The fact that if you consider that, the whole characters, each one of them needs to die right, 3 times, and we need to see all the 3 deaths. That's like a lot of total deaths that we need to see. And every time a character game over, you need to show the game over screen, be like, game over. Right, and all that stuff, right? And it shows that, and it does that so many times, and near the end I was like, okay, I get it, game over. Right, dude. But yeah, so by kind of being forced to repeatedly show something off a shit ton of times, it ends up maybe having a couple of, little problems in that department. In terms of our department, the pixel artwork is very good. The pixel artwork is very good, it's very done, and it's taking advantage of skills and utilizing them to the best of our ability. It does a good job to really show it off. It's some of the most effort I've seen into pixel art usage in a show still, because there's not that many shows that I've seen to really try to do pixel art to this degree, right? Because everybody has everybody's doing the pixel art with tons of assets, with facial expressions and everything, with the enemies, with deaths, with text, with a lot of stuff. And it really does it, in a way, it feels like a game, I wonder if somebody recreated this. Are you able to play, B.O.T.O, the video game? Is this on itch? Can I play it? I'll make a video. I'll make a short. Can I be B.O.T.O the video game? Something like that. But yeah, we end up having, of course, everybody take their own deaths. The final part is just a reference to Donkey Kong. These contestants are very bad at Donkey Kong, very, very, very bad at Donkey Kong. There is truly not a lot to say about it. They are struggling to know how to play Donkey Kong. They're just, because whenever they talk, they kind of stay still, so yeah, it ends up being a bit more complicated. Eventually, 6 people manage to get up, only 5 can go into the final boss area, though, so Chocolate ends up being unfortunate, and then our final 5 ends up being, Boat Party had a shield, a popsicle, and a hot dog. In the meantime, we end up having the hacker show up. Who is this? This guy, I don't know how to best describe him. The way that I would probably try to describe him is this hacker guy is giving Newgrounds. If that makes any sense whatsoever. This guy is kind of giving Newgrounds vibes, with kind of a mildly flip notey style microphone, the way that those guns appear. It's very Newgrounds, actually. It's very Newgrounds. Everybody dies. The party hand nearly wins again, by the way. I guess second place. I'm noticing maybe a potential bias towards the character here, but eventually Shieldy, because of being a shield, manages to reflect the laser back towards the hacker and defeat them as the boss, which means that Shieldy wins for their team. Everybody gets recovered super fast, and we have everybody be up for you have the other team be up for elimination. The team formed by Pizza. Who's getting eliminated? Great question. Baguette is the meanest one. No, Scissors is the mean one on this team. Sorry. Baguette is kind of mean and dies very fast. But Scissors is the mean one, quote unquote, right? And, we're talking OG here. We're talking OG Object Show. If this is a real OG Object Show, they would eliminate Scissors for being the stereotypically mean character, because back in the day, we were still setting up the stereotype. The stereotypically mean character is eliminated, and it would only make sense for the stereotypically mean character to be eliminated here for it to make sense. One little thing that I have to say, I'm a big fan of the remaster, including the actual dates that the original episode has. Sometimes you see remasters and remakes include, no, don't vote because it's a remake, when it's that breaks the immersion, right? It's best to have the original dates right there on the screen, I would say. So yeah. Okay, that is nice. That's a cool episode, man. Cool stuff. Episode 3 of Brawl of the Objects is titled The Ever Convenient Objects Shopping Mall. Remastered, of course. Go! Okay, so that is episode 3 of Brawl of the Objects, the ever-convenient objects shopping mall. So first of all, the elimination took place, of course, after, well, to start off, a pair apparently got too mad, so mad that their skin peeled off. So, that's interesting. I gotta admit, yeah, Pair does not exactly have a great episode. Apparently pairs, very sensitive. They get too mad, skin peels off. If they get too happy, then the stem falls off. So like, it's just not a good day. Pairs gone from like nothing there anymore. Just not a lot going on. Over there, we end up having a screen that the entire universe gets to hear, which, in this case, I think I might be fair. And while we are still not deciding team names over there on the pizza team, which they can't decide, what are the idea? The Lucky Pennies, yeah, bad idea. Team Amazing, yeah, no, these are not great ideas. These are not great ideas. We end up having the first ever elimination time. We're, by the way, 276 votes in total. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's a number. No, that's a lot. That's a lot, man. For the time frame, that's a good chunk of people. I think that really should, contextualize a little bit, how big Brawl of the Objects was, because you do not just get 200 votes back then willy-nilly. A lot of the other shit that we've seen, I mean, Baby Puppets was not getting it. I was not getting it for a while. Right? It was struggling. And to see this at its first voting get this many votes, it really decided to the Brawl of the Objects. It was a big thing. It was a big deal back in the day. And you can tell, because, these episodes have been fully and entirely obsolete, quote unquote, for multiple years now, and they still all have over 1 million views. Nearly every episode, except 3 of BOTO have over 1 million views, which again is a really hard thing for an official episode to do. Nowadays, it's nearly unheard of, to be honest, right? Other than kind of the big dogs. The only show that can crack 1 million is freaking Time for the. On our the fact that so many episodes managed to do it for Brawl the Objects means it was a big thing, absolutely. At the time, and it's one of those shows that for just the scale of which it managed to, it is a show that in a way should be respected, right? So I'm here to draw by the respect of it. However, the voting is very predictable. It's very, 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 very predictable. Voters back in the day voted for the main character. The main character got out, right? Scissors got out with 3 times the amount of votes. As second place Baguette, who's also another quote unquote mean character, right? So it was looking rough. And you end up getting frozen in place, which is better than being in a box forever and going insane. True. Gotta admit. I have to admit. And then we end up jumping ourselves into the challenge. The challenge ends up being to go to the shopping mall. The ever convenient object shopping mall, or the Techcosm. And as they go there, it takes 2 hours to walk there because they've not invented vehicles yet. I mean, remember, we did get that one episode 1, but we crashed it. Look at how many recommended characters we have for episode 3 of a show. It's unbelievable, man. BOTO was big. This shit hit it big, dude. It's difficult to contextualize, but man, this is the big stuff. And eventually we ended up getting there into the shopping mall. The challenge is to shop a lot. The challenge is listed as shopping. Whoever shops the most, it wins for their team. Whichever team does the most shopping. This ends up, what we end up finding out at the end, ends up getting calculated by amount of items bought, right? So instead of buying, because you could gauge it in a couple of different ways, right? You could gauge it based on money spent, right? Whoever spends the most money, shopped the most, or you can make it in whoever bought the most things, shopped the most, right? Now, they end up taking the the whoever shopped the most items, which is fair, especially if you have a money limit, I guess. Right? It's not just that whoever's the richest is gonna win. Right? It's gonna like, okay, bro. Right? But this challenge, the best way that I could describe what this challenge entails and what this challenge really is I like to call this challenge an excuse challenge. Where, like, the challenge concept itself is not bad, right? However, it's mainly a challenge concept utilized for the sake of having the contestants do a thing, right? Having the contestants do a thing, right? So here we were like, let's have the contestants go shopping. And as we have the contestants go shopping, we need to invent some type of challenge for them to do. So it'd be like, oh, whoever shops the most. Right, now we have an excuse to go shopping, right? Like, you kind of invent a location idea before you invent a challenge idea, and then you invent a challenge idea. However, what happens when you invent a location idea is usually when you want to do an episode at a place, right? You are trying to fit a challenge into it. However, then we don't stop and think about how the challenge plays into the actual system, right? We don't think about how the challenge plays into the behavior of the contestants, right? So we just end up kind of having a challenge, like in this episode, that everybody pretty much ignores, right? Like, everybody pretty much ignores the challenge idea because we're not considering in the writing of this episode the proper like what this challenge entails, right? Because what does this challenge entail? This is a challenge about shopping as many items as possible. This has to be extremely tactical, right? You need to go in there and buy as many trinkets as possible, right? If you go to a store that is gonna have expensive items, you're not gonna get a lot of them, right? You need to go to a store that has a lot of quick, small variety things that you can go in and get as many of them, right? And it would have been intriguing, you know? It would have been an interesting challenge to see, right? Because it's like, you know, you get to see all of the different approaches to how you would do this, right? You'll be like, oh, okay, so this person's gonna go to the candy shop and try to buy, you know, one of every M&M or whatever, right? And no, wait, by the way, I'm curious if the 1,000 candies that pizza actually did, if like they actually proceeded to go through without buying it, if that would have counted as 1,000 different items, because technically they did get scanned in a QR code, you know. Well, that's all I'm saying. Each one got scanned individually. So would that have been 1,000 items for pizza? That would have been pretty close. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see, you know, like going to the candy store to do that, or like kind of trying to buy as much of one item as possible, seeing if that counts. In a way, going to the clothing store, right, and buying all the different clothes, right? That way, you know, you fill out a wardrobe. This is what Pear does, right? But what Pear does on accident, right? They also, by the way, have competition from the Ball Squad, which is created by which is just a bunch of kind of like freaking fashion products. Their official names is apparently Glamour, Fabulous, Vanity, Pretty, and Beautiful. Okay, bro. They're just like girly girl the thing. I don't really know how to describe that character archetype other than that. And beyond that, we have ourselves the setup as, of course, they go over and they buy all of the different things. Now, they buy over the different things at the stores, which don't have names. There's I mean, they do have names, kind of, but like they don't really have names, right? Like the names which they have are pretty much like they're just the description of the type of store, right? It's like, this is the toy store, this is the music store, this is the clothes store, this is the candy store, right? So there's not much, you know, definition really to what we're seeing. And then, you know, the contestants, they just proceed to go over there and they go and they shop. In the meantime, Pinecone, for some reason, decides that jumping into a set of chocolate balls is a great idea, so they go over to do that. In the meantime, Baguette is trying to experiment with the everything detector, which is a detector for anything which you can say. You apparently say whatever it is, and it'll point you to it. This is interesting. It sounds like a very important detail. It sounds like a very important device. It might be useful heading toward later. In the meantime, chocolate ends up eating a shit ton of candy. Question: is chocolate eating candy cannibalism? Well, or like, is chocolate eating chocolate balls cannibalism? I've no idea. None whatsoever. I don't know. I'm gonna be don't know that. But I would say probably, right? Then we end up having the other fellas, which goes to the books store. Yeah, it's so true. Straw stories, and then we end up giving Twilight to freaking the thing. May cause seashells to get a weird face. Kind of funny though. Show it to your favorite seashell. Okay, give me a how is it that, dude, this was a thing, dude? Again, you can tell in a way. I feel like this show was pretty good. I kind of separating itself from the times, but man, no piece of media on YouTube in 2014 could survive the urge to just diss Twilight. Everybody was like, yup, we gotta diss Twilight. What do you mean an object show is dissing Twilight right about now? What? How is that happening? How is that possible? That's crazy. The every detector ends up pointing a fella over to the dictionary because he wanted to test it out by getting a dictionary. He reads the dictionary to get convinced by the dictionary, but oh boy, what did you need to proofread the dictionary? What do you mean? Bro needed to proofread the dictionary. In the meantime, we end up having the music store where we end up buying music, I guess. And that's sort of not a lot's going on. They just kind of diss everything. And then Pear ends up accidentally bumping on Beautiful. And Pear decides, I'm not having any of this. They steal Pear's fucking bag of clothes. So they end up having a superb battle and stall each other out for ages. Then, as they say, we count all the 1,000 things. In the meantime, Party Hat wants to get a teddy bear that's all the way at the top. For some reason, the store doesn't have staff, so we need to get Seashell and Straw, who went out of the bookstore, to try to help it out. So they don't manage to do it because for some reason they decide to put Straw to be the one at the top, which is interesting. In the meantime, Controller is setting up a hot tub so that they can relax. They forgot that they are a controller and therefore it is not how that should go, because controllers do not tend to go there. So that's pretty bad. The power outage in the count of the 1,000 candies right at $9.99, which means that it doesn't work and piece of the bales because it would take too long to count them again. In the meantime, Chocolate ends up being, I guess, sugared out, eating all the candies, and they accidentally proceed to eat Pinecone. I remember it was in the middle of all the chocolate balls. I noticed this, but, I guess they must have just thought it was like something else, I guess, on accident. In the meantime, as Party has not managing to get the hit to get the teddy bear map from Object Universe, which is, I don't really know what you are, but you're a cool looking character, to be honest. So, look, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get in there in the Object Catchup bucket line, but hey, look, I don't know. The design for map from Object Universe looks pretty cool, alright? So yeah, then we have another everything cube, which you shake it and something random appears, including punches. Fair enough. Then in the meantime, the girly girls end up officially failing to get to buy the most things because they accidentally decorated their wallet, their money, and made counterfeit money on accident. Oh well. Then we end up having the buying of things. So, in general, not a lot of things were bought. A pair bought a lot of clothing items, though 26 things. However, the other team bought the pair of Popsicle, and by power of Popsicle buying like 17 CDs, and Hot Dog just buying a shit ton of random stuff at the candy store. They end up overall winning for their team because Pear kind of had to carry on their team because everybody else was too satisfied. But you see what I mean? Nobody really considered the challenge when doing it. Like, only maybe Hot Dog's the only one that really considered the challenge, right, by grabbing random stuff and putting it into the cart. Everybody else, even the ones that did a lot, right, like, they were just buying shit, like Pear wasn't exactly attempting to, like, buy stuff. like Pear wasn't exactly attempting to buy the most things. Pear was just buying stuff because they wanted to. It's not exactly great. Anyways, the Pear's team, Party Hat's team is up for elimination. No idea who's gonna get eliminated. I feel like Pear is, the usually mean one. In this episode, you kind of want to feel bad for Pear, right? But like they saw it coming, and nobody else really has the kind of like that mean edge to them. And again, it's an old episode, so the mean character always gets out. Yeah, I have to give Pear my prediction point, right? Like, I think saying that Pear is out, it's just the prediction that makes the most sense. So, yeah, my bad, gamers. I will have to go for that. Anyways, it is time for episode 4 of Brawl the Objects, which is titled BOTO's Next Star. Remastered, of course. Go! Okay, that is episode 4 of Brawl of the Objects, BOTO's Next Star Remastered. And I mean, this is just one of those episodes that's kind of cute to look at, right? Because it's such an interesting, like, time capsule piece of a time, right, where we're clearly learning, but the passion's there, right? The passion that leads you to learn, you see it in an unfiltered way here, right? Of course, Anko or Anthony, pretty good songwriter, pretty good songwriter of music nowadays, some of the most popular audio show songs arrive from his pen. And therefore, having this moment where you get to see songs created by Anthony back then is very intriguing, as songs sung by him, songs done by him. But like, you can see that like the passion's there, right? It's kind of like, we want to do this, we want to show it off, we're directly interested in this craft, right? And seeing this like early version where the quality might not necessarily be there, but the drive is there. You can see it, and it's cute to look at. Okay, it's cute to look at an episode like this because it's like, oh yeah, let's go. It does end up a long episode because of course everybody has to perform, right? So since everybody has to perform, it ends up being a little bit more complicated. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. It kind of reminds me of, when I was taking a look at Paper Puppets, right? And it was like the show opening line, it's Yellow and Gear kind of anime. Yeah, sure you can. But yeah. Anyways, team names are officially decided by Party Hat and Pizza. They've decided to together to name them Team Vanilla and Team Chocolate. So the Pizza's team is Team Chocolate, and the Party Hat's team is Team Vanilla. They end up getting generated by this computer. While that is a computer, it's apparently a Z1 computer. It's the size of a town. You know what? Yeah, that's a pretty big computers, that's like the size of like one ChatGPT data center, like I don't know. But either way, we end up having the pair go over there as we end up hosting the elimination, where the eliminated contestant, after, by the way, the voting count is going, we're on the ras. It's going up by like 100. But yeah, we end up having the eliminated contestant be none other than Pear with 129. Yeah, it's expected, dude. I don't know. B was probably the culture shift, because like, before then, if a character was just mean, even in that episode where Pear got absolutely dunked on, right? And Pear was low-key justifiably mad, right? Like, there's just you just cannot survive, right? Pinecone got a lot of votes though, 100. It was only 20 off. To be fair, Pinecone really just didn't do anything in the episode. I mean, they kind of soft-locked themselves, but like, why did you soft-lock yourself? You just look like, oh yes, I'm gonna go shopping. Nope, time to jump into some chocolate balls. Yes, great idea. Love that. Love that idea. I do that all the time. And then They end up getting frozen, and then we end up having the box where the useful fella goes to boombox. We end up having the piano player Francesco, which is I don't think that's a Spanish name, but other than that, we end up having them play piano for $20, so that's intriguing. Then the challenge, as I said, is a singing challenge. You have to choose a song to sing. Then you'll perform it to the judges, whichever team has the highest average score ends up doing pretty alright. Now, there ends up being a pretty good tactic taking place here. It's that we end up having the team Team Vanilla sort of mostly combine their forces, right? So we have 4 people collabing together on a track, which means that, well, first of all, of course, they have the chance of making it stronger, but because we end up having the possibility of them getting stronger, and they have instrumentational backing to them because of the piano guy that we have, it means that every person has an individual rating. So if they can get it together as a group, it's a bit of a it's like a high risk, high reward, right? You'll either for sure win, right? You'll either winning because you got a high score, so everybody gets that high score. But you do end up getting, right? They get like 24 points for all 4 members. It's like, okay, yeah. Then it wasn't even ever close, right? But of course, if they had flopped it, they would have been very, very low on average, right? So yeah, in the meantime, they end up, of course, needing to fetch $20, and I'm forming a lemonade stand where you need to get lemonade for $20. Now, will I make $20 for lemonade? $20 for lemonade? That's a lot of bucks. That's a lot of money. We're inflation out here. But yeah, we end up having baguette serialized. So of course, they'll have to sing in French. So we'll get some French singing abilities. In the meantime, Chocolate and Popsicle ends up agreeing to make themselves to write a song. So they'll write a song. I like how this implies that the songs that the others sing are not custom, which they are as well, like majority of them, which is interesting. But yeah, we have some fellas practicing. Then we end up having B.O.T.O, who gets upset that they can't think of a song until they eventually think of a song. Then eventually Hot Dog ends up helping out the other team by spending the $20 on lemonade. So yeah, it's showtime out here in the B.O.T.O headquarters. A very big fan of the scene of the moon slowly getting like lifted up. That is just a good scene, you know. Like, I feel like it's these type of scenes where that really show off attention to detail, right? Like, just the factoid that the moon coming up, we did a gag with it, right? It's like, it shows that additional attention to detail that, was one of the big faults, in a way, of some of these older object shows, right? Because some of these older object shows, they weren't capable of having attention to detail because they weren't capable of having detail, right? They were actively battling themselves, in a way, right? Because, like, you know, they were just trying to up their quality, and therefore sometimes we're struggling to get that attention to detail and those things. So when you have something like the objects here that is doing attention to detail, is doing interesting things, it's actively kind of like, it's doing attention to detail, you know, for example, for the game, back in episode 2, here with some skits here and there, right? Of course, not kind of the fact that the composition of the music's here today, in the episode are custom, right? Nearly all of them. Like, but like, it ends up that we have a very modern feel, right? I think that within these older Object Show episodes, I think that they feel more modern the more attention to detail it has, right? Because modern shows, that they're very much so about that attention to detail. So yeah, we end up having, or apparently the last go at recommended characters, because somebody was trying to cheese the system by making fake accounts to recommend characters. So it's done. Anyways, we end up having the custom baseball has made an appearance from Inanimate Insanity. Does Inanimate Insanity do these type? Is that back in the day, dude? Like, Jack and Jellyfin never really did it, but like Animation they cameoed and stuff. I don't think they do that anymore. I wonder when was the last time they did that. But There's also Live and Loud is apparently a popular pop singer. Okay, so we end up having ourselves the song. Should I battle? Should I battle these songs? Should I try to should I try to give it a quick rendition? I don't. I mean, there's not too much to necessarily say. So Chocolate and Popsicle do their rap song about like winning or whatever. Okay. Here we are on top of the world, we're the good with the sea, popsicle, chocolate, yeah, we're both epic. Don't you see? ABC 1, 2, 3. I'm just looking at I was looking at the auto-generated transcript. Hold on, wait, wait. Pause, chocolate. We're both epic, don't you see? ABC 1 to 3. Control, he's awesome, don't you think he's all great? And when we're pink, we're all here for Final 2. Keep as well and make it through. I'm going to win that censor since we don't want to reveal the grand prize. We like those. That was good. Yes, exactly. That's good. Now that's a good rendition right there from me. Add that to the 50 song. Then we have Baguette singing a folk song. It's apparently called Alouette. No idea what that word is, but freaking alouette, j'en dis alouette, je vois des mots. Yes, so true. Then I mean, it's a decent rendition. The pop singer, surprisingly enough, likes it. I thought that'd be the guy that wouldn't like. I thought the pop singer was gonna be kind of the mean judge, right? Like, oh, I'm the mean judge, but no, they're actually not really the mean judge. And then we have Better Tomorrow, which is sung by a sick as Hot Dog and Shelly. And I do have to admit that I think that the softness that gets given to the Hot Dog voice here probably makes it the best individual performance of any of them. So yeah, cause like wait. Yeah, cause like you see how like the song gives it that nice a little bit more complexity to the voice, you know, like don't you want to run away, you know, like something like that, right? Like, how do you... Wait, I'm trying to... I need to listen to them. I've already forgotten this song. It's just like a generic duet. It'll be better tomorrow. I've just listened to it. It'll be better tomorrow, so just let it go. They don't sing like that, but it was kind of cool, don't you... agree. Okay, what am I doing? I don't know. But then we on a boat singing singing row your boat. Yep. Yep. I mean row. Wait, honey. Yeah. Oh, you just sing this very fast. You go like row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, life is but a dream. Hoo! Let's go. All right. What do you think? Am I better than BO.TO? I think I'm worse than all of them. Then we have the internet song. I'm not understood. I don't know. There's so much vocal processing put on Shaw's voice and on friggin' Boombox's voice that I don't know what any of the words being said are. You know, it's like what? Wait, hold on. Wait, what is? Hold on. Wait, what is the lyrics to this song? Tons of things are there on the internet. It's where it's the internet. Wait. Tons of there on the internet. It's a different world where it's the internet. Nothing compares to the internet. Something I never forget is the internet. Whatever, dude. It was interesting songs for sure. My favorite song is probably Better Tomorrow. I think Better Tomorrow is the best performance. I would say the Hot Dog and Chili would get a highest rating. Okay, should I speedrun giving it some ratings while I'm here? Yeah, let's give it some ratings. So to the beatbox, I would say that it was an alright beatbox, to be honest. I would probably give it I would say a 6. I'd say it does alright. No, I'll give it a 7. Then we're having the baguette alouette jaunty alouette. It was fine. I'll give it a 6. It was okay. Better Tomorrow was the best. I'd probably give it a 9. There was a nice performance compared to the rest of the pack. It was pretty good. So I'll give it a 9 or 10 between them. Even though Shelly kind of probably brings it down a little bit. The seashell. Then we end up having row, we both joining downstream. Merrily. Okay. This one was so short, there's not too much to say about it. So I guess it's a 4 for shortness. The internet song, it's an original song, and there's a lot going on. But it's not exactly, but it's a bit messy. So I'd probably give it like a 5, to be honest. It was a bit messy, you know. I don't know if the voice is necessarily harmonized too much. Then we end up having oh yeah, the pine cone song, dude. This is like a rap. This you know, like, okay. Should I try this? Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna read it. Okay, it's not. I'm not. I'm just gonna read it how the YouTube translate does it. Okay, cause I remember. Yo, in the house so cool, can't finally hear me. Yeah, don't roar. Let me say a few things real cool. Just wishing me here as if there was a fool. There's no to this, I'm doing it on the spot. Let me remember the lyrics I forgot. Let me say I don't mention a lot. Understand words you say. If you think I did not being really all that much of a crime. What is YouTube on? I mean, I get it, okay? I understand why YouTube is not understanding it, but like, I didn't think it's very hard to come up with all different rhymes. So now let me say a word a bunch of times. Money. Yes, this is good. This is good tracks. All right. But yeah, this is one of the shows. But yeah, this is overall. Oh yeah, the freaking pizza song. Hold on, let me close off with the pizza song. I mean, should I try the pizza song? I mean, like, okay. So there's one thing about it, which yeah, when having the pop singer go like, "You can do this. You got a talent." Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's a Pizza does an interesting song. You know, like I think that what's going on with Pizza is Pizza has an inherent misunderstanding. Is that when you do a loud note, you need to bring the microphone away, not closer. It'll you know, peak the microphone a little more. But yeah, I'm invincible. That's my rendition, okay? Alright, that's the best way. Also, what is this song? What is this, like, one line song? Like, well, I just go, no, it's freaking looking like Unstoppable by Sia. I'm unstoppable. Okay. Anyways, the internet song ends up absolutely destroying everybody else, the Team Chocolate in the competition. Especially starting Pinecone and the Seashell did pretty alright. Who should get eliminated? I mean, Place's performance was poor. It was very poor, and there isn't really a mean character really here. At least in this episode, even though Baguette's kind of mean, so Baguette could go, but I'm gonna have to say Pizza on this one. Though we're gonna need to see. But overall, it's a talent show challenge, which is something which you know, a lot of shows have done, and you know, this is one of the ones to set that scene and set that idea that. Doing that is okay, you know. Object Lockdown, for example, did this pretty early on as well. But it's just a good challenge. There's not much to say about it, man. The thing about a reality show challenge is it's just a good idea, dude. You know, like, it's fun. You get to see the characters do uncomfortable situations. It, by just the nature of it, it makes the characters have equal screen time, right? It shows, it has a lot of emphasis on the host, but also on the contestants, right? It's just a good challenge idea. There's really very little to say about it, you know. Like, fair enough to the reality show, no, to freaking talent shows, because talent show, the concept of a talent show, it just makes a very good idea. You know, even isn't Animatic Battle about to do a talent show challenge, right, in their next episode that's releasing? Maybe. I mean, you can't ever be too sure with Animatic Battle. It'll probably release within the next ever. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully, right? But yeah, okay. Anyways, before I start going insane about these songs, I think we should jump over to episode 5, which is titled "Go Battle Monster." Of course, very mastered. Very row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily. Next time, go. Okay, so that is episode 5 of Brawl the Object, which I watched actually quite a while ago because life and stuff. So, go Battle Monster. Here we have ourselves Brawl the Object's an attempt at performing a bracket, which is something that, I'm discovering with time as I'm watching one show, then another show, then another show. That this is just something that old object shows were actually down to do. It was another one of those kind of style of episodes that existed that now just kind of don't exist, right? It's about kind of like that BFDI episode right after David joined, right? I think the staring contest episode. And yeah, this kind of like bracket styled episode has kind of stopped existing. And just like I usually do when I talk about these bracket-styled episodes, they arrive with that one main problem is that their structure is directly sort of repetitive in nature, right? Like, the thing about a bracket is repetitive in nature. So you go thing. Like, it's only unique in the first round, right? And then when we enter the second round and beyond, we've already seen what it is, right? So, like, those initial gangs of the first battles, right, end up becoming a problem as we enter the next round because we've already seen those gangs, so it becomes less funny the immediate second time, right? Because, of that. It's one of the reasons why sometimes bracket style gags don't really seem to work, right? Like there's a Jackbox game called Bracketeering. It doesn't really work for that exact reason, right? And here I would say suffers that a bit. However, it does, I would say, give it a very good go. It utilizes what I think is still the biggest power of Brawl the Object, which is a very well done pacing structure, and it's managing to attempt to implement it here by still having some variety, having some rounds take less time, right? Making sure that you, instead of having 3 additional battles when we get to the semifinals, we only have 1, right? By removing the semifinals, it's making the final be between 3 people, right? Like, it's trying its best out here and stuff. Okay. So we start at the beginning where B.O.T is apparently learning French. They want to learn French, so they read a dictionary, and Baguette speaks to them, and B.O.T doesn't understand it. And B.O.T goes like, "What? Are you not reading the subtitles?" And then we find out that the subtitles are a person. Yes, the subtitles themselves are a person, and anything that the subtitles say is it. And they hug Baguette, being like, "Oh, I'm your own one-two friend." I really like the tiny detail that when the subtitle speaks English, it gets translated to French and vice versa. So like if Baguette spoke English, it would be in French now. So that's kind of cool. That is a cool detail. I like that detail. W detail. You see what I mean? I don't know. I just like the details. Then we proceed to have B.O.T to go over there and break the 4th wall. Yes, literally. So yeah. Elimination takes place here, where we end up having indeed the elimination of none other than Peace after the vote count goes down by 100. Okay, so the hype up, not as large. I swear the person with the least votes always has 12. I swear. There's always somebody with 12 votes. There's pesky 12 voters trying to be contrarians. But yeah, Pete ends up getting eliminated with 90 votes, despite the fact that B.O.T was technically mean. I mean, I guess, right? They shouted at that one fella. I think like Chocolate that was trying to get to them or something. No, it was Baguette who was trying to get to them. But yeah, Pete ends up getting eliminated. They deserve it. They fucked up. Not much to say about it. And they freeze. They try to send out a last message to the fella. To Hot Dog, however, to get frozen. It says something like never, so we can only guess, really. Everybody ends up opening the boxes. We accidentally swapped the grand prize box for the the grand prize box for just this prize box for freaking Popsicle, but yeah, somehow none of them realize that it's a mousetrap until Hot Dog, which doesn't get the mousetrap. They all get caught by the mousetrap. They're all mouses. They've all got a mouse brain. Okay, good to know. We've learned this. Suddenly, all the behavior is becoming a lot more explainable. And then finally, we end up heading ourselves into the challenge. Now, one of the things which I will admit I don't know what it is, but I am somewhat a fan, right? And this gonna sound weird to like this, right? But one of the things which I'm kind of a fan of is like in so many object shows, right? Where I'm like at this point, I'm used to seeing the host to be such an integral detail of it, right? We're like having this show, looking back at this show and seeing just such a normal ass host. There is like nothing interesting about this host right now. Well, like there's just a host who hosts the show, right? Does the challenges, disputes it, like it's general. All it's just a normal host. It's not. They don't affect the competition. They set up some pretty good challenges and they do what they are supposed to do, right? Which is host, explain, not be mean, not be nice, right? All of these things. And it's arriving as, weirdly enough, the fact of just having a host with no problems is a unique trait that I am enjoying. I don't know. I'm just kind of like him. And the voice is good, as I think the one character not voiced by Anthony themselves. It's a good stuff. Battle Monsters is the challenge. So Battle Monsters is presumably a play on Yu-Gi-Oh! I would guess, where you're supposed to kind of go battle monster, and then they get spawned out and they're just supposed to fight, right? And then you gotta kind of hope for the best. We end up having not enough contestants to complete a person to compete like a 9-person bracket, so a 10-player bracket. So we end up having a 12-person bracket, sorry. To complete a 12-person bracket, so we end up getting the last fella, which is called like battle, like it's like a cap, but they call themselves like a battle monster master 68 Lamau or whatever. Right, so we end up starting off the battle, which has been the random tournament bracket. So we end up having Slurpee versus Hot Dog. Now here we get to see the Battle Monsters on display for the first time. This is cool. One of the biggest details of this that ends up getting shown off is as the Battle Monsters are fighting, especially in some of the more non-human-y battle monsters, such as, for example, Chocolate's dragon sword. I don't know what their name is, but they are stylized directly differently from the objects, right? You can see they have such thinner lines, and their eyes and mouth, they're just completely different. It's just drawn in a completely different art style, and I think it's cool. It's another, just like that capability of just showing off, right? In a way, right? It's looking at it. It's looking at your own toolbox, and it's like, okay, I can draw in a different art style and I can animate a different art style. Let's do that, no? Right? Like, it's kind of the things, like, I can songwrite. Let's do that, right? It's taking advantage of what you are capable of doing, or the skills you do have, and actively implementing them into the show. And by implementing these skills that you have into the show, it allows for a unique experience, because it's a channel that a lot of people wouldn't have otherwise thought of, because of course, they're not in the same niches, and a lot of people wouldn't be capable of doing because they don't have that same skill, right? Because it's not one of the necessary skills. So it's a bonus. It's a very nice bonus, right? That ends up getting made, and I think that it's one of the coolest parts about it. And I think that this, for example, is a detail that you can take from a show like this, and also possibly try to think about it and implement it on your own, right? You got to kind of think, like, what can I do that is different, that I'm good at, that others, that sets me apart. Not necessarily because you want to compare to others, but just kind of like, just set yourself apart from the average, quote unquote, right? Like, I think there's something to think about still, like, if we can do other art styles, let's pull it off, right? It's unique, it's interesting, and if we can find a way to add it like we do here with all of these monsters, like this raccoon, for example, that Party Hat has. By the way, shout out to Party Hat. They will never lose a challenge. I mean, they didn't lose. I mean, they did lose the challenge, but they will never blatantly lose it. They always get like top 4. Okay, yeah, we end up having a UFO, then we end up having the battle between Boo Boss and Possibly. It's literally just a cheeseburger. There's not much to say about it. It's that was indeed a cheeseburger that just got sent out onto the field. I wonder if these characters have official names. They probably do, right? Again, Brawl the Objects is popular. Like it's popular. We probably had like a 9-year-old Q&A, right, where we answered, oh, Chocolate's monster is called Robert or whatever, right? Extreme Battle Monster Lord. Interesting. Their fella ends up doing the explosion. They have like a robot. Another critique that I have for this challenge specifically is that it's not skill based. The battle monsters are battling skill based. However, it's not really much to do with the characters themselves, right? Because they just picked a card at random. They were not allowed to strategically pick, right? And therefore they just went for it. And they just spawn them and pray. Something you can like cheer them on, but there isn't that much. The character involvement that's actually happening here is very minimal, right? So yeah, we end up having the main power of the Dragon Fella is that they're extremely good at withstanding explosions. So that means, and they also have fire. So they manage to make something explode, right, by kind of putting fire onto it and stuff. And then at the same time, going over and surviving that same explosion. So they really do manage to keep it around and survive. And therefore, Chocolatey wins for their team with their Battle Monster. Shout out to the Battle Monster. Truly has to be one of the GOATs of all time. Contestant vote. Yes, it's a contestant vote in the next episode, because 20 out of the recommended characters that have now been retired as a concept have been picked out to possibly be in the debut. Who is going to debut? I have no idea. Big Orange Chicken is recommended by Zany Lee, which is rather funny. There, truly high quality stuff. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how many of these people do you think are around? How many of these people do you think care about the OSC nowadays? Like, out of these recommenders, like UXIE126. Are you around? Do you real? Right. Anyways, I have no idea who joins this show. To be honest, like, I have a feeling like maybe I should know. Part of me really wants Paint Palette to join because it'd be funny because of the object lockdown. However, I don't think that's gonna happen. My presumption is that we're gonna do the thing that's like, oh, the first character joins. So let's say it's gonna be Arcade Machine. Let's say Arcade Machine joins because they're first in the order. Okay, that's the best prediction I could really give. I don't really have any other way to really define the rest of the characters, So yeah. Episode 6, Brawl of the Objects, it's titled A Treasured Welcome Remastered, of course. Go! Okay, that was episode 6 of Brawl the Objects, of course, the remastered version. You're going to be hearing background noises for this section. I just want to do it, alright? I want to do it, I don't want to wait for the perfect moment. So, we have ourselves an interesting episode. So, at the beginning, we end up having, a 10 out of 10 jinx here from a Slurpee, as you're called, being like, hey, have you noticed how the challenge winners have always been back and forth, right? You win, I win, you win, I win. Hey, we lost last challenge, so that means that we're gonna win today. Party Hack goes like, wait, you're gonna jinx it. And yeah, I mean, they end up losing the challenge in a pretty jinx looking way in this episode, which is unfortunate to say the least. I do gotta admit that is a bit of a rip for them. as this show, yeah, it's having maybe I guess a little bit of a problem in that department, right? Where it's like it'll feel less real when you have kind of the contestants sort of like when you have the back and forth type of elimination system, but it's hard not to have it because then that makes it seem like you're biased towards one team or you're just trying to write a good show, and then all of that ends up looking around and being like a problem and everything, right? And like yeah, it ends up being a bit problematic, and it doesn't build like characters as well as it does. I will have to admit that is probably maybe the weakest part that I'm currently seeing with Brawl of the Objects, because Brawl of the Objects, it's excellently creative, and it has managed to be pretty impressive in technical elements. Of course, this is remastered, but even like technical elements, of like the baseline concept, right? Whether it's the songwriting or the pixel art, for example, all this stuff, it's very technically impressive, even at a baseline level, without considering, of course, the remasterings of it, right? With it, I think the one thing that maybe stands as having been maybe a couple low to rest is that I'm not really into these characters a lot. Like currently, I don't care that much. I feel like they're not super defined, like what Popsicle is, or what Shooty is, or what Boombox is, right? Like they're not, like a lot of these characters, I feel like they are not distinguished, right? In a show that's for a show that's kind of caring about the details, I will say that this show, I don't think the characters have a lot of these finer details to them, right? Which is kind of like maybe the bigger negative that I have with it. But either way, we end up jumping ourselves to the elimination first. As a reminder, we didn't do the elimination. We didn't have voting in the last episode. We did have voting, but we had debut voting, which means that the other team's contestants, Team Chocolate's contestants, are going to vote for one of their team. No, wait, Team Vanilla, I think. Wait, hold on, who lost? I think Team Chocolate. Wait, I don't. Wait. Trying to remember, something fell over there in the other room. Shout out to that person. Yeah, we end up having, the team, wait, hold on. The Team Chocolate will be choosing who ended getting eliminated on Team Vanilla. Okay, yeah. I get it. I was making hella sure. Brain kind of not braiding there. I know I'm gonna be for real. But eventually, with 3 votes, mainly by Chocolatey and BO.TO, we ended up deciding that Pinecone did not deserve it. Pinecone wasn't really going to get very far in the game, so we take this moment to eliminate them. I do have to agree with the logic that of the contestants poll. I mean, in a way, it does show off that same example of, like, you see how the characters don't have that much depth to them. They don't have enough relations with the other characters to really go about having, too much of an opinion on them. So they're just voting based on tactics. They're just voting based on, baseline, right? And they're not voting tactically, because usually contested votes are a great opportunity for, of course, a team to get out a strong contender in the other team. But here we don't think about that. Here we just think like, oh, Pinecone wouldn't get very far in the game, which is true. But like, I mean, isn't that exactly why you keep them around if they're uncompetitive, right? You don't want to vote somebody out which you consider is uncompetitive, right? You want to get somebody out of the game who you think is competitive, right? So, yeah. By the way, I do have to at least give this show credit in one area, which is that, yeah, there is the challenge 1-2 that is happening that the show itself points out. However, if there's any show that is going to have a challenge 1-2, it is going to be this one. Right, because this show actively encourages the losing team to pick themselves up by giving them an advantage in the next challenge, right? Like, that the boxes have pretty much nearly every time had a direct a tool or item that is advantageous to the next challenge, right? Which, is a bit of a different from, other options at the time where the prize is just random bullshit. Like in BFTI, the prize has never been used. But, yeah. In the meantime, we had having the debut out of the 230 votes, it's gone down again. We had having the debuting contestant be Big Orange Chicken. Are we for real? Are the Zany Leaves character, the Nile character, 52. What were y'all doing in whenever the hell, like 2014? What were y'all cooking, voters? To 50, that's 20 more votes. That is so stupid. Look, I get it. It's funny, okay? I have to admit it. I saw Big Orange Chicken as an option, and I did laugh. But, like, that is a lot. So, yeah, good job to the Big Ass Orange Chicken for joining the show. Good job. You apparently can speak. You can turn, like, you can like spawn in text by dropping an egg with the text on it, maybe. But I don't think they'll seem to plan on it. Anyway, this challenge won't involve them because the challenge ends up being to get Big Orange Chicken. If you do it, you will get the Big Orange Chicken on your team. Anyways. Chocolate ends up being the new leaf and the newly claimed team leader of Team Chocolate because Team Chocolate, right? So that's fair. And then we're having the instructions that lead to the freaking treasure chest, right? Which needs to be done. So the first thing to do is to find the blue tree. Where do you find a blue tree? You find it at the store, apparently, which is interesting. I mean, like, I guess it's a bit weird. It's a bit of a weird location to think about because I mean, it's like, okay, it's a store though. Yeah, it's like I would think that you'd be asking it for it in a natural location because if it's in a store, it would be stocked, right? So would there be multiple blue trees? But whatever. The teams, they do end up finding the blue tree, and then from there we end up proceeding. In the meantime, Party House team ends up finding, or Team Vanilla ends up finding the blue tree first. We need to get the note. The note gives them a renewed set of instructions that apparently says that they are correct directions, that the initial ones are a lie. Yes, they end up deciding that, hey, look, this sounds like an advantage, we're gonna follow it. I would agree, to be honest. It turns out that it's wrong. It's actually kind of like a half roundabout way that they like it takes them on like a loop-de-loop, and it ends up being slower than it originally is. However, it's I would still 100% believe that because, like, yes, later, you know, the host comes in with the catch-all, being like, oh, well, you see, I said that the instructions at the start were correct. Yes, but you don't understand. You wrote the note so that it said ignore all previous instructions. You know, because like those were a lie, right? So why are these instructions a lie and those not, right? And all that stuff. In the meantime, the fellas that got second end up continuing following the original note, which says to go all the way to a mountain. It is a big ass mountain. That is one hell of a triangle. But thankfully they have boats, so they all just get, oh, not all of them, but they mostly just end up riding up on top of BO.TO and just letting BO.TO lead the way, which BO.TO proceeds to do because they're very powerful and very kind, and I like BO.TO. And to be honest, I like Bo. Bo didn't get a lot of votes. Actually, Bo got a lot of votes to eliminate against them after the Sing Challenge, which I don't know. I find it kind of, I don't know. I disagree. I mean, I find it kind of fun. Merrily, gently down the street. But like, they end up eventually sliding all the way down. Turns out they're sliding this much down, like the biggest triangle you've ever seen, ends up setting your ass on fire. So that's not great, but thankfully they were about to land on the water anyways, so they proceed to go over to the water. Then having a little bit of a show off as Bo says you're welcome to baguette in French. So improvement is happening. And in the meantime, they start digging. Now digging takes a while because they don't have a shovel. Seashell has a shovel, and that shovel does fucking wonders. It does wonders as they arrive wildly late. However, that shovel is like single-handedly, apparently stronger than 6 people digging with their hands. So that's kind of crazy, right? I wonder if that's true. I feel like a shovel's not that powerful, but like I guess. But it turns out that the instructions were wrong. Yes, they ended up finding a wrong treasure chest down there, where there's only a fake green emerald, and this means that the other team ends up finding the correct prize. And Team Chocolate ends up getting the big orange chicken, the greatest character that media has ever bestowed upon our puny little soulful eyes here. And we get to look at them and we get to cherish them with all of our soul. In the meantime, they get a shit ton of golden chicken nuggets in this chest, which are supposed to pay for the next challenges. However, they're pretty good, so everybody just eats them, and then Controller gets kind of upset. However, hey, gold chicken nuggets are pretty good, and then Popsy points at me. I don't mean, okay, I mean, like, okay, maybe I don't know how to go chicken nuggets up, but like, I know what is this thing called self-control. Okay, you don't know that. You don't know. You don't go coming out here on me, basically. Okay, I defend myself. I defend myself. But anyway, when having party has team be up for elimination, not really their fault. None of this is their fault. The only one who's cool, because like I would say that Party Hat and the global decision to follow the sign given at the tree is perfectly reasonable. So I would say that that's not a problem. I would probably eliminate Slurpee, I guess, because the only thing that Slurpee did was jinx it, quote unquote. So, like, I guess, like, fine. I guess that counts. Slurpee jinxed it, and that's the reason why they lost, alright? Let's say it's that. For the first time, apparently Brawl the Objects went on holiday for the month of July, not working on it. And that means that, of course, the episode was worked on in August to release in October. So that's the first time that we have seen that. Last time we forgot to talk about the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene this time is the big-ass orange chicken looking at the scene of everybody eating the golden chicken nuggets and getting sad because, of course, they are eating chickens. You know, that's fair enough. I don't know who showed you this footage. I feel like you should have probably stayed back. Somebody should have probably realized that it wasn't a great idea to show that footage, mate. Like, what are we doing? But yeah, that's episode 6 of Ball of the Objects. It's a bit of a more standard episode, I would say. This type of treasure hunt episode, you know, I do think that we did quite a bit back in the day. We do it today, even, you know. It's just an easy, simple challenge concept. So yeah, it feels like it's maybe, you know, for it's fine. It's honestly completely fine. But considering how this show has given us so much in terms of creativity, right, in challenge ideas, having them just do kind of a regular challenge is pretty alright. Even though it does do interesting elements, like having the entire alphabet written out in sand or whatever the hell. But like it's not like elite. But yeah, episode 7 of Brawl the Objects is entitled Unprepared to Be Scared. Of course, the remastered version. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 7 of Brawl of the Objects. First of all, good morning. It's the next day. Second of all, intriguing little episode. Yeah, I like Brawl of the Objects. It's turning out that I like this. It's just one of those shows that's like, it does have that kind of simplicity while also having creativity, right? Like, it has that blend, that important blend that makes that classic style show, right? Like, it just makes that classic style show. It makes it tick, right? It's a combination of creativity with simplicity, where things that you don't expect are happening, things that are fun are happening, but that are completely different from what's happened before, right? So it does that while at the same time holding up to a simplicity. The characters, you roughly get their personalities, right? I still think that it's probably the weakest part, right? Like, I don't think they're too distinguished, right? Like something like original BFDI, I believe that like the personalities in a BFDI are significantly more defined than the personalities in a Brawl the objects, right? In the set, because like I would say that on a personality spectrum, way more contestants in this show fall under like the same like sector of it than it would be in something like BFDI, where it's a bit more extreme, right? Now of course this can always be attributed to the factoid of the way that the show operates, right? So we've eliminated everybody who has had even an inkling of not being nice, right? So we've just kind of left for the final 10 the 10 characters that are not really bothered, right? So okay, fair enough, that's true. We do gotta factor that in, but like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like that. We end up over with Boomball saying hello to the big orange chicken, and then they friendship. Yes, exactly. So as they end up doing that, we end up having them end up trying to find out who their enemies are if they want to make it far. Yeah, interesting thing that they realize they don't really have enemies. Yeah, because like there's not really, yeah, because nobody is really trying to play this game super socially, right? That's kind of what's happening. Nobody's really going out here playing Brawl of the Objects out and going like, yo, this is, I'm gonna try to become enemies with the other team, right? Like, even alliances, right? Fucking alliances, right? Like, there's way more people talking about the possibility of an alliance than there are people who are trying to make an alliance, right? Like, on average, people just kind of hang out, right? And for multiple challenges, you're even okay to hang out with the other team, right? I remember the singing challenge, you can literally partner up with somebody on the other team and, like, just play along with that. So, like, in general, teams feel much more of, like, a competitive, sense, or like feel much more of like just a for the competition sense rather than being a literal division, right? Like, it's one of those things. It's like, if there was a team swap in this shop, like really, if there was a team, if like if the team's completely shuffled, right, totally at random, would it really be that bad for the people involved? No. But like, if you think about it in another show, right, in another show, if the team shuffled around, that would be devastating for a lot of the contestants, right? Because like, they're playing with plans, they have friends, they have enemies on other teams, right, and all that stuff. And however, on this show, there's like a baseline level of understanding that causes the fact that there really isn't too much of an enemy being formed, right? So yeah, and like this sort of kind of everybody's just playing the competition aspect of it without really trying to get one up each other socially. Plus the detail that they're not being put in necessarily super nefarious situation by the host is relatively normal compared to classic object show hosts, and especially modern object show hosts, right? So it's Control. I mean, this is actually the most dangerous challenge Control has done. This is the challenge that Control has done. Control turned people into ghosts, right? However, like, I don't know, like, I mean, they're not going to stay ghosts, right? So, I mean, you can reasonably presume that we're fine, right? You can reasonably presume, I don't know, sunrise is going to drop by and then you're going to be fine, right? Like, there's not going to be, they're not just going to stay a ghost, right? Team Vanilla is just, oh, wow, you're now appropriately colored. Like, no, like, come on. That's not happening. But, yeah, so with all of that, it makes for a much chiller, I would say, show. In a way where it's like, you can tell that the contestants are not like too bothered, you know? Like, even when the contestants are like, okay, no, here's the thing, they are bothered, but they're not necessarily, like, but you know, it's not all on the line, right? It's not all on the line. Because, like, for example, when they're talking about when like at the end of this challenge, right, we end up having hot dog chat with B.O.T O, right, about like making it far in the game. They go like, hey, wouldn't it be cool, you know, if we won this challenge? Because that would mean that we would have double the amount of contestants. But like, you see, that's it in like a joyful tone. because it's like not something that has to happen according to their worldview, right? Whereas in another show, right, that where the competition is like much more like, I guess, a bigger deal in a sense, right? Like the social aspect of it, right? And getting one up and advancing stuff, like where the contestants are taking it more seriously. You'll go like, dude, we gotta win this challenge. We're gonna have double the other team. We win the challenge. We need to lock it, right? Like they like. Because like in this situation, we're just like, oh, we're playing it cool, and seeing in another show, it'll be like, oh, we gotta play to the max, so that's kind of what I mean, and I think that's probably what sets the vibe of this show the furthest apart from it. I always like talking about this. I always like mentioning these vibes because like it's really intriguing. Because every show has one. Right, whether it's on accident or completely not, every show that is ever made, right, is achieving a vibe with the script that it ends up writing, right, with the script that it ends up having, because of just the way that the person writes it. So trying to settle down what ends up being the vibe of accidental or not that each different show ends up doing, I think is one of the most interesting parts about talking about shows to me personally, because like it's just intriguing to see, because like, oh, this show is written more focused on comedy styles, oh, this show is written more based on being fast, this show's written on based on jokes, and then there's whatever the hell object point is, and like all of these things, right? Like it's just doing various things. But either way, we end up heading ourselves into the challenge. So, what is the challenge? We are going to an abandoned house, which is in the middle of nowhere. We take another very, very long walk. So, you know how I say that in object shows, every object show ever made is a grassland followed by a city that's a couple miles down the road? Yeah, this just looks like it's a grassland followed by a grassland down the road. It's like there's no city. There's just vague buildings. Like you just live on grass, and then like there's just buildings made on random patches of other grass. Like what? Because remember, the shopping mall was also in the middle of nowhere. Alright, so it's like, okay, dude, why is everything just in the middle of nowhere? Have we not invented cities yet? But yeah, for some reason we want to buy a melon. And yeah, the eliminated contestant, I kind of forgot to talk about it. The vote count has remained consistent, about 200 to 30-ish. Boombox got eliminated. Not really much to say about this elimination, because it's kind of just an elimination, right? There wasn't really any big faults with this team in the last episode. I would say that nearly every decision that they made was a valid one from their perspective. Boombox, I guess, stands out as the least interesting because they've just kind of not done much in the past few episodes, right? It's kind of harder to understand them. They've got, because of the voice the voice processing that gets done, that means they're a bit harder to listen to, so I get it. Although it does remove another, one of the more unique contestants from the cast, which is unfortunate. They have been frozen. In the meantime, we end up having ourselves the challenge, which again is the abandoned house. Now, we end up having control they fly away in a helicopter. I had the people complain that, oh, if you had a helicopter, why do we have to walk? I'm sorry, can you get 11 people onto a helicopter? What did you want? Did you want him to fly all the way? Did you fly 11 times? What did you want to do? Helicopters max hold like 2 people. What? What are we on, mate? Okay, I mean that's like reasonable. That's like a reasonable thought, mate. Come on now. And then we end up having ourselves go into the scary maze. Then walking over and being like, ooh, this is so spooky, even though it's literally just a cabin, mate. Until eventually the members of Team Vanilla all proceed to disappear gradually. That lantern that Shieldy won, nope, doesn't matter. Not very useful. They end up all reincarnating as ghosts, and they end up having the actual challenge. They have to scare the others away, otherwise they lose, right? So that they proceed to do that into various tactics. We end up having Baguette get scared away because Party Hat's just pissed at them, so they just scared them. Big Orange Chicken, we end up throwing an egg at the wall. That way we end up making them super scared, being like, oh, my big weakness, and then they end up crashing through the door. Then we end up having a vending machine, but before the vending machine, wait, what happens in the vending machine? Oh yeah, we shake the vending machine aggressively, and then Shieldy eventually pops up trying to scare them. Yeah, I mean, I will admit that the scaring attempts from Team Vanilla are pretty poor. They are of dubious levels of quality, but okay then. they're like, all right, I mean, I get it, I guess, like, all right, you get scared, because, like, the thing about it is that the thing about being scared, right, that I think this doesn't really get, is that, like, you're scared of a ghost because of what the ghost can do to you. If you look at the ghost and you see Party Hat, I mean, like, what are they gonna do? To be fair, actually, the only one that does just directly hit somebody is Shelly. That's the only one who does just straight up murder somebody. Because they dunk the bookshelf on chocolatey, and then we end up getting to see all of the chocolatey pieces, which is CHOLATEY. So of course the chocolatey without the double letters. Now, which you make for each individual piece, and then they all end up running away after we say that I'm a ghost. This is just fun, like, it's just fun. There's nothing to it. There is literally nothing to it. It's just fun. I enjoyed seeing that, and why not? Right, it's the biggest why not ever, right? It's like, alright, then, sure, we can do that. Why the hell not, right? It's break apart, and then you turn into different people. Alright, then, man, it all sounds good. Right, and then the way they all shuffle out. Again, I'm pretty sure the animation isn't, like, that remastered, so it's still relatively original. Which makes it, again, still high quality animation, I would say, for the time frame. It's very consistent. It's probably a higher degree than I had. What is the? Because I remember that this was animated in a weird program. All right, like, it was animated in a program I never heard of. Well, the credits say it's animated something pro anime studio or whatever. I don't know what it was called, but it was an interesting program because it's kind of different to the usual. Popsicle ends up getting hit by Shiori. Shiori ends up escaping with Popsicle because one of the chocolatey pieces ends up staying in the house to try to give them the information, but no, unfortunately not. And then as BO.TO and Hot Dog are the last ones left, they end up getting the big spook, which is to actually bait them. So they get Shelly over there, try to give them a spook, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? And then eventually the other actually scary people end up going over from behind and scaring them, so that way they run away from the house. So Team Vanilla did it. They managed to do it, and they're relatively safe as well. Like, I mean, the challenge was getting close to ending, but it was still a couple of hours, right? So we were looking pretty good. So yeah, overall, I would say it's a solid challenge, especially for voting, because everybody had the moment, right? Everybody had that same moment of getting spooked, right? Which means that in terms of having equal screen time for the team that's up for elimination, it's probably the biggest cause of it. Now, who's gonna get eliminated? I think with this team's lack of like meanness, just a lack of really mean characters in general, I would say that Baguette, it's time to go, because Baguette is always marked off as like the mildly mean one. However, there's always been a meaner threat in the show, right? And even though I think Baguette's kind of interesting, I think that it might be time to go, unless people go against the Big Orange Chicken. That is possible. Because the thing about the Big Orange Chicken is that, of course, it's funny to vote in. However, after you see them in, you're like, okay, all right, sure, we get it. Right? And then you can vote them out. So maybe, do I want to say that the Big Orange Chicken gets eliminated? I mean, I think, you know what? Yes. Let's say that. Let's say, Baguette makes more sense, but I'm going to be bold out here. I'm going to say that's all going to make sense here. I'm going to say that as quick as Big Orange Chicken came in because it was funny, Big Orange Chicken's going to bow out because it was funny. So we're going to get to see Big Orange Chicken get eliminated in episode 8 of Brawl of the Objects. Okay? That is my predict. That is the officially stamped eternal V-second prediction for this elimination, alright? So, yeah, we end up having, what was the post-credit scene? Oh, yeah, the post-credit scene, when are we gonna unghostify? You just dawn, right? Is that how it works? I mean, I'd presume, or you need to ask Controlly, who's wherever the hell Controlly is, with the freaking helicopter, right? The whatever. But, yeah, overall, it's a fun little episode, as with majority of the early shows. There's always a haunted house challenge. There's always a haunted house challenge. There's always a haunted house. There's always a talent show challenge. There's always a haunted house challenge. You cannot have an early object show without one of these two things minimum, right? I mean, like, hey, what are we gonna do, you know? It's another idea that is easy, it's fun, it allows for interesting things, and yeah, well, I mean, it just makes sense. Okay, we have to jump ourselves on to episode 8 now. Episode 8 of Brawl of the Objects is entitled Meet Your Match. Of course, the remastered variant. Here we go. Okay, so that is episode 8 of Brawl of the Objects Meet Your Match. So, this is cool. It's just cool. It's kind of sick, right? And, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those ideas that, again, it shows off Brawl of the Objects as a show that, like, it really thought about challenges, you know? Like, this was a show that it really was trying to enact challenge creativity to a maximum, right? And just have a plain, entertaining, different challenge than the usual, right? And, it manages to perform that and it creates in a way that iconicness, right? It creates that iconicness because, like, so many of these challenges, they are just intriguing. They're completely different concepts, right? With like that usually we haven't seen before, right? And it's like, it's very, very intriguing, and this is another one. Now, you know what I find to be the most interesting part about this, right? I think that, like, if this was any type of modern episode that did this, I would tell you, without a doubt, that I would not say that this was original. I would not tell you this at all, because, like, the immediate thing that this concept brings up to mind is Gumball, okay? Because one of the most acclaimed modern Gumball episodes is The Copycats, right? The Copycats is the Gumball episode released in about 2017, where they got Gumball and Co. to actually fight their equivalents from their copycats from the fellas that are apparently hold on, wait, let me see, what was the exact idea? They were like fighting against the copycats after this battle, right? So they end up having this battle against the copycats, which are actual copycats, by the way, from a real show that existed back in China, right? And they do this battle, and they have 1v1 character v character, and it's pretty similar, right? And it's one of those situations where it's like, since that's a popular episode, that was a big discussion point in that time, right, and all that stuff, I look at it, and it's like, there's no way, right? However, I mean, of course this is original. This is a 2013. It's 2013, man. Like, its show is so old, man. How does it hold up this way? Like, it's managed to keep itself OG, and that is something. Yeah, I mean, I just have to absolutely say it is one of probably the most original challenges. Not necessarily this, but like this show just on average gets the most original challenges out of any of these, like olden shows that we've seen. It's good stuff. Anyways, we start off the episode here at the castle, because as a reminder, the frozen contestants seem to be in some type of dreamland. Not exactly sure. You know, while we've talked about we talk about the afterlife and stuff, we've never talked about the in-between life, right? That is like, how is the place before dying, but afterlife is, which is called being frozen in place, right? I guess it's like, it's this place, so if you're ever frozen, you'll go here. And we ended up having scissors being turned into the princess, which they apparently hate doing that. Because, oh no, I have a servant and stuff, and it's going and making me insane, and it's being very complicated right out here for Scissors, because Scissors is just a hater, right? Scissors is one of those characters. Nothing can make Scissors happy, right? But honestly, it's actually a good idea to put the scene because of course, what ends up happening in the late episode, which is the fact that we get to vote for a rejoin. So that's actually intriguing. Seeing the characters in action, whether it's for a limited time, right before we're about to, right in the episode where we're about to vote one of them to come back in, is an actually intriguing prospect. And I'm curious what's going to happen in the rejoin. But anyways, we end up having some fellas play chess. Pizza and Boombox, they do not know how to play chess. I mean, let me just be absolutely for real. There is no way. But black pieces moved first. They do not know how to play chess. What do you mean? The black pieces moved first. What? Yeah, they don't really know how to play chess. Pinecone, who has to do the moves for them, is pissed off. It's like, why you don't know how to play chess? So yeah, they're not doing that. And then Rook is out here going like, what the hell? Y'all sure gotta be exiled. Rook, which is like the butler, whatever fella. But yeah, in the meantime, we end up having Shieldy turn friends with Big Orange Chicken because they gave them food and stuff. Is it just me, or am I sensing a pattern that the character that has that opening interaction, that pre-elimination start interaction, tends to be the character that gets eliminated in the episode? I'm starting to get that little sensation, that little feeling that might be what is going on. I'm going to be absolutely for real with you. But either way, we end up going over to the elimination time, which, by the way, has not changed. The theme has not changed. We found it, again, it's just consistent. It just manages to be consistent. It's got that to it, right? It's got that to it. Now, of course, again, we're at a higher quality, yeah. But again, this is based on the same animation. It's higher resolution. It's a different aspect ratio. And the quality is improved. And vague graphical errors are going to be fixed. But the core crux of the animation remains the same in these remasters, right? Which means that it's just got that consistency to it that makes it a watch. And yeah, you know what? I think people say it, but I'm looking at these now. I'm really looking at these now. These hold the fuck up. These episodes hold up. I'm not saying they're the Master Emerald or whatever, but they hold up. They genuinely might hold up better than some BFDI episodes. At least those early BFDI episodes. BFDI, I think, eventually gets into a groove, but it's really doing it. It's really managing. Oh wait, we end up going to 335 votes, so we're really shuffling between 230 and 330, probably depending on whatever day it was, probably. But we end up having the eliminated contestant Big Orange Chicken with 146. Yes, good prediction. Good prediction from me. I got that hella right. Let's go. I mean, I feel like that wasn't an easy prediction to clock. But I thought I did pretty good there. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was just starting to feel like it was Big Orange Chicken time to go, right? Because you join because it's funny, but then we get it, right? I feel like there was a lot of that back in the day. I feel like nowadays, the debutante isn't just the character that is funny, right? However, back in the day, we did vote a lot for kind of the weird one, right? So we vote for Big Orange Chicken here, we vote for David and BDI, right? We vote for kind of the weirder character to actually join. Then that is something that I have noticed as a little bit of a detail. I mean, even now, there's non-existing one. Right? They're non-existing. I like to get into being deeper. In theory, but I mean, of course, that's biased because non-existing is already a character. But anyways, Big Orange Chicken dips off, freezes, freaking explode. And then we end up going over to the challenge, where the challenge gets postponed though because we're having a call from Battle of the Objects. Yes, because Battle of the Objects is a different show that apparently exists. Okay, well, I'm guessing they don't exist, but I'm guessing there isn't a real show because Battle of the Objects. But yeah, a Battle of the Objects is here, and they're claiming that Brawl of the Objects is being a massive copycat. And they'll be like, what? You're copying me? What the hell is this? I like how I like the color scheme being constantly just like it's a colder color scheme for every single character. And then we end up going like, well, I'm gonna find out how to cancel Brawl of the Objects. I was like, what? You can't cancel Brawl of the Objects? We gotta cancel Battle of the Objects because you're copying me. And then they'll go, fine, let's start this in a competition. Let's do a 1v1 between what our characters are best at, and we'll see which one does it better. So, we need to save the show and stuff. So then we end up starting off the episode. A very interesting episode setup. So, the way that this episode is set up, I think, is giving it itself a go at trying to solve the battle monsters problem. Because you'll see that the bracket problem in battle monsters is that, by having everything be, constantly matchup, then matchup, then matchup, then matchup, it keeps everything formulaic. Alright, it keeps that formulaic because everything works out in the same order, right? Which, again, sometimes is fine, but it's a bit, you don't want that every time, right? And this would be a problem because that would be formulaic as well, right? This challenge, it would be character v character, character v character, character v character, character v character, right? And all of that would repeat constantly, right? And therefore we're like, okay, how do we solve this? Because see, we think things through around here, right? So it seems as if the solution that ends up getting invented is to have a sort of like having like a flowing movement, right? Because you notice you like start a challenge that takes a while, then you end up flowing back into the next setup and into the next setup, right? And as they flow into the setups, you eventually get back to square one, see how that's going, and then eventually flow into the next as we're setting up the last one, right? So then you see it enters a little bit of a flow state, right? Which is nice, because also a part about the matchup that, of course, hurts it is that flow state ends up being there per match, but it's not there per episode, right? Whereas, like, if you imagine, the battle monsters, right? You start off at the go, and then you enter the flow, right, of the battle, and then it ends, right? However, that flow, you see, it starts, but then as the next match starts, we don't keep that flow going. So it restarted. We know in this, the way that it's done is actually rather dynamic. So it manages to work itself out. Right, where it kind of goes through a flow of just explanation, and then it goes to flow of setup of like progress, and it goes to flow of finish, right? You see how it follows the same flow constantly, right? So we do all of the setups, then all of the progress updates, then all of the finishes. It's nice. It's well executed. I will have to admit, it's done pretty alright. But yeah. Anyways, what are our contestants to actually do it? So hold on, possibly and freaking the equivalent ends up listening to music. This ends up being apparently piano, slow piano music, slow classical piano. Popsicle hates it, so that's the first point for Battle of the Objects. Then we end up having, of course, some more progress updates. As we end up doing that, we end up having Straw win the battle against freaking Slurpee because they have limbs and Slurpee doesn't. To be fair, Slurpee gives it a pretty valiant effort. I mean, like, they don't end up that far behind. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to do. Shooty, so then that's 2-0 to Battle the Objects. In the meantime, Shooty manages to defeat Badgie in a deflection contest because the Badge does not have the same deflection capabilities as the Shield. So Shooty yet again goated and manages to get the point. Then we end up going over to Baguette, which manages to pretty easily defeat French Fry, who has French as their second language, so they're not quite as knowledgeable on it. So that's 2-0. then we end up going over to the singing contest between Seashell and Shelly. Now, I do gotta admit, we're starting. For being a naturally born singer, the last time that Shelly had to sing, Shelly was sick or whatever, and now they don't even have to sing. I'm doubting Shelly's singing ability right now. I'm gonna need to be for real. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I'm gonna need to see some more, I hear Shelly and the Better Together. The problem is that Shelly got carried in that Better Together, All I'm saying, wait, what Better Together, Better Tomorrow? Was that? What was it called? I don't know. I watched it yesterday. I don't know, man. Like it was a bit different, Like it's kind of Hot Dog. Hot Dog was kind of cooking with those vocals, But like Shelly, I feel like was kind of the weak point there. So I'm not sure if I'm too convinced here. But that way they got lucky because Seashell is too shy. It would have. I'm surprised that Shelly didn't help out. I low key thought that was gonna happen. That they were gonna kind of like get pull one another up, but no, they don't do that. Shelly's too shy to help out a shy person, so they get the point for all of the objects. Then Coffee, which just has more energy than the chocolate. Chocolate likes candy, but Coffee has the energy to eat candy. Coffee ends up winning, so that's enough point for Battle of the Objects. Present also wins because Present is a robot that was constructed as the party hat, isn't so. Unfortunate, there's kind of not much that you could really do. So, Battle of the Objects ends up getting a 4-pointer. And then B.O.T.O manages to win the video game, the 50 lives, the 50 stock Super Smash Bros. That they end up playing against Sailboat. So, good job, B.O.T. B.O.T truly a gamer. There's not much to say about it. Good stuff. Then it's the tie. And then the last one is Hot Dog versus whatever the hell the other guy is called. And unfortunately, they've been knitting for 10 years, whereas Hot Dog's only knitting for 1 year. So the entire carnival that gets made from the Battle of the Objects fella ends up causing it a 5-4 win. So Brawl of the Objects is cancelled. Alright, let's do an ouch. No, I'm joking. We end up having a controller get clocked in one last time after finding out that controllers show Battle of the Objects starting on February 1st of 2013 when Battle of the Objects when Brawl of the Objects starting on January, which means that by starting 1 month late, and as you can tell by the fact that the giant blue cat is still here, of course the equivalent to the orange chicken, right? And like the huge blue cat to the big orange chicken, right? The big orange chicken was supposed to get eliminated, which means that next month a giant blue cat who gets eliminated from their show, controller ends up realizing this and running away. So Controller survives, but anyways, it's a tie 2-2 to the challenge. However, Team Vanilla wins because they have less members. So by getting 2, that means a more percentage of their team did the challenge. I mean, I guess I feel like I don't know if that's a fair system, but like okay. I mean, I guess. Alright, fair enough, fine. I think it's fair. That means the Team Chocolate is up for elimination. I think, however, the eliminated characters will join, while everybody else will get to do that. So, this means that those eliminated contestants will get unfrozen, right? They're going to get unfrozen, which is going to be interesting. How will that work, considering their current position of royalty, especially because they're going to get refrozen afterwards? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think Scissors will want to stay a princess, though. Like, I think Scissors is just being pedantic. So I think Scissors, who is probably rejoining, right? Because, okay, yeah, Scissors is mean. However, first out, first in is such powerful logic in these original, in these, like, classic shows that, like, I think I just gotta say Scissors, right? Because of that first out, first in. Let's see if it's true. Where my guess is going to be Scissors. But yeah, I think Scissors is probably not in a 1-2 return because of the whole princess charade. But it's going to be interesting. We're going to need to see it in due time. Okay, it is now time to head into episode 9. Episode 9 of Battle of the Objects is entitled Downhill Disasters. Of course, the remastered version. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 9 of Brawl of the Objects, and I gotta be for real here. I'm very surprised. Scissors actually got the least votes to rejoin, but you know what? And this might be coping, alright? This might be coping, but I believe that first out, first in still can apply as a rule that was used even back here. Alright, now you might be wondering, okay, why then? Because if you look at it, the order in which the characters were shown on the voting in the last episode had pizza first all the way to the left. So all I'm saying that if you try to find the first one and you look from left to right and you saw that the first one was pizza, then voting pizza would make sense, right? Okay, now, but either way, I do think that pizza in this episode, in this show, probably deserve to rejoin the most, because they're just, like, a majority of these characters, they didn't really deserve a rejoin, I would say, like, I would say that the eliminations of the show have been relatively fair. Pizza's the only one that got eliminated because of an individual challenge performance, right? Because Pizza, by a mile, had the most embarrassingly bad performance in any individual challenge that a contestant ever had, right? So they got eliminated entirely because of that. I mean, other characters, they weren't really eliminated because of their challenge performance. They were eliminated for, like, external factors, right? Like, whether they were mean, whether they weren't useful, whether we couldn't understand them, right? Over that. Pizza, the only one was just like, we're fine with Pizza. They just did bad, so deserve to get eliminated. But also, we'd have no problem with bringing you back, unlike the other contestants. So that's kind of what's going on here with Pizza. But first, we end up having a quick debate. So, Shelly was over there chilling with Slurpee until Popsicle calls a friendship meeting. And Slurpee goes, nah, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just being suspect. And Popsicle gets mad, being like, what, Shelly, you want to stay with them? Okay, fine, go. So that's going on. Popsicle, it's a bit mean. I'm surprised Popsicle has managed to sneak in under the radar, right? Because it's like, you always notice, with, like, object shows that we do vote out the mean characters. However, there's always one that sneaks under the radar, you know? There's one mean character that sneaks by under the voting radar. We're not very good at spotting them, right? So either way, we end up having first, of course, the unfreeze, so that we can do the elimination time. Not a very big deal is showed in this episode, at least, to their disappearance in the dream world, as they call it. Like, we get one scene of Scissors disappearing, right, which has the Rook fella go like, whoa! That's about it. But, like, there really isn't much else going on, right? I guess they're gonna need to, find a new princess for the time being. And then, yeah. So, heading into the elimination, of course, we have the eliminated contestants vote out somebody, so they proceed to press the button. Apparently, there's a change, at least according to the comments, the first, a scripted change that I've at least heard people talk about. Apparently, the reasoning given by Boombox towards the voting of Popsicle is actually distinct to the one given in the original episode 9, the show, which is interesting. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure why it was different to start. Because, I mean, like, I don't know, his logic that gets given here makes sense, right? Like, oh, you separate our friendships, so we're gonna vote you? What was the original reason? I don't know. That's intriguing. Intriguing little change. So, okay, they can do change. We can do script changes. All right, that's like intriguing. That's good to know. Good to know. I guess we'll kind of keep thinking from there. But either way, the outcome doesn't change. Popsicle ends up being eliminated. They know what the grand prize is. They can't use that as blackmail. So they proceed to freeze up and bye. Then we end up going over to the rejoin. As we already pointed out, Peter proceeds to rejoin. Now, we also get the official discovery of no more teams. Yes, no more teams in Brawl of the Objects at around the final 9, which is a relatively decent number to do a merge, you know. It is true, and I did hear some chat about it recently, that, merges are intriguing things, because, like, you'll notice that as time has gone by, merges have gotten increasingly later in a season, I would say, on average, right? Like, if you check the, the average time, it's usual that in a rejoin we've in a merge we've had merges be like more like final 5, whereas like here in original shows and even BFDI, we merged so early in BFDI, and then we just to be able to do like point system jargon between like the final like 15 or whatever, right? Like, it was a lot, am I a supporter of doing earlier merges? It depends on the vibe of your show and stuff, right? However, I think in certain situations, I do think that it would be opportune to do it, because of course it unlocks bigger character interaction freedom, right? And when there's not that many contestants, I think having greater character interaction freedom is better, right? So I think that is alright. I think that's alright. I think we could do that. We, at the end of entering it, we end up having ourselves the challenge, a pretty complicated challenge in this episode. It's one of the most complicated tier challenges that we've seen, actually. The challenge goes as follows. Bungee jump down and fetch yourself a boat. There's boats of various qualities. As you go down, you fetch a boat, and then you slide down. While you're sliding down the mountain, there will be 5 flags. While you're sliding down, you're going to need to steer and you're going to need to get. When you get down with the 5 flags, you are safe, and you win the challenge. Only the winner wins immunity. The rest are all up for elimination. So that's what's happening. Now, this challenge ends also, you gotta reclimb, by the way, if you didn't get all 5 flags, which takes a while. Now, this challenge, I would say, suffers a little bit from its own complexity, right? Like, you can see that it's theoretically an interesting challenge, right? And I think if you did this like IRL, it would be an interesting challenge, right? Because of kind of the how long it takes to go up, right? And the bungee cord in taking turns, right? And the different quality of the boats, right? Like, the different quality of the boats is really intriguing. However, on average, the quality of the boats doesn't matter. There's only like one time. It's only with the inflatable one that we ever actually get a sense of the boat feeling different to the people involved, right? Like, on average, it's just not different, right? So it's like we've added this layer of complexity just to not utilize it, which means that we've probably just added too much complexity. Probably should have like tried to tone it down a little, you know, get something out off of that. But it's a bit of an unfortunate moment. I will admit. Especially because they're like, you know, the reclimb, because like the reclimb seems so fast. Why does it take like 2 minutes to slide down the mountain, 30 seconds to get back? How does that happen? Like, what's okay, bro? I mean, okay. They end up sliding down. Chalker gets the prize of an inflatable boat, which they do need to inflate. So, you know, it won't be life doesn't arrive very easy, right? There's also not enough boats, so some people need to share it, like Pizza and Hot Dog, which share their boat, and also both themselves ends up realizing, yo, I'm a boat. I can like slide down and stuff. I did that on the mountain that one time. So they do proceed to do that, and BO.TO ends up taking a very chill approach, which is the best approach, I would say. Because like the wrath of needing to go down a second time is not worth it. So I think doing a safe and steady one route ends up working out way better, right? Which as you can see is the plan that works. BO.TO ends up taking one slower route, right, and gets all 5 flags in it, Whereas Shelly and Baguette nearly managed to do 2 full spins of it, however, missed it on the first, which means they need to do the second spin. And 1 slow is still faster than 2 fast, right? So that makes for the proper challenge reasoning to why B.O.T ends up as a winner. Little bit of an opinion though that I do personally believe both in challenges, both in merge challenges from the era and merge challenges from now, just merge challenges in general. I personally think that if you're doing a merge challenge, you should have multiple people be immune in it, because it just means it's just such a tiny percentage of safety is won that a lot of the time I feel like it makes a challenge irrelevant, right? Whereas if only 10% of the characters of 10% of the character, one character gets to be immune out of 9, that's 1/9, you know, it's not a lot to be safe, right? I would have 3 get safe, right? Something like that. I would have personally had all those 3 be safe. I would have had Shelly, Baguette, and also then be safe, because it makes sense, right? And then you lower it as you go on. You get 2 extra eliminations, then you lower it down to 2, and then you get another, right? You end up just kind of lowering it as you go, because that way it makes the immunity be a bit more significant, right? You want to do well in the challenge, because otherwise it just becomes, the challenge becomes a little bit pointless, right? Because somebody ends up fucking up the challenge, right? And then they proceed to just immediately give up. It doesn't matter. Right, and it's well, okay, and just out of contention forever, right? When it's it's not that fun when it's like that, right? So if you can't be the top, you can't be anything, right? So I think that if you're making an in-merge challenge, try to have a good chunk of people to be safe, right? Enough to where it feels like a reachable target, that beyond just being the best of the lot, right? So yeah, that's what I think. There's a couple of solid gags in this episode, like the constant explosion. Control-E is just having a field day today. I don't know. Control-E was like, oh, yo, I found some safe explosives. Let's go with that. Yeah, Slurpee got exploded 4 times in this episode. People are getting shot out of cannons. Nobody likes getting shot out of a cannon. I like the realisticness of that, at least. I like the realism that yes, I would be scared if I got shot out of a fucking cannon. But yeah, we proceed to end up going down. But wins. Anybody else up for elimination? Who gets out? No idea. No clue. I do not know. Is it? But I feel like it's about to be the Baguette time to go, man. I feel like it is, because everybody else I think survives. I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's time. I'm gonna have to say it. Last time Baguette was pretty easy safe. But I'm not seeing anybody else getting eliminated right now. I think they all did pretty alright. It was all pretty reasonable performances from the fellas. I mean, Shooty's performance was pretty poor, but I don't think they're getting out. I'm gonna say Baguette. Especially because this challenge, there's not too much interaction in this challenge, so there's not too much social changing going on. So we're gonna go Baguette. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We're gonna need to see. Because it's time to jump into the next episode. The next episode of Brawl of the Objects, episode 10. Episode 10 of Brawl of the Objects is entitled Unexpected Expedition. Of course, the remastered one. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 10 of Brawl of the Objects, Unexpected Expedition, which I have watched the kind of one. I mean, I did watch it, but I stopped halfway through. I had to do so. But anyway, we end up starting off here with Pizza inviting us trying to explain what the hell Big Orange Chicken was about, because we do seem to see that apparently they were unresponsive in the little range of time where they were both in Dream World. First of all, interesting thing, Dream World is confirmed, I guess, here to be a proper locate, like, to be a thing that you remember, because there's a bit of, like, a debate when you go into these types of like with shows that send you to like a purgatory setting or like a life in between, like a, whatever it is, right? Like a half dead state, right? Where it's like, do you remember when you get back? That's kind of one of those things. Here the answer is yes. Apparently when you get frozen, you get sent to dream world and you are just fine. You are okay. All right, then that makes sense. Now that I think about it, right? If that's how Dream World works, think about it. Would that mean that Rook is also a frozen guy? Think about it. Know that Rook fella? That seems like a frozen guy to me. I'm getting those vibes right now. I don't know. Okay, that's kind of interesting theory. Theory just dropped. Rook actually frozen, and then there's that weird stuff. I don't know. Okay, now I don't think this show's gonna go there. But like, it's stuff's happening. All right. But yeah, at the end of doing that, they and they're kind of dissing them, the big orange chicken for not being capable of speaking big orange chicken language, which fair enough. The hot dog cuisine, it wasn't the same without you. I do have to disagree with hot dog. I know you're trying to be nice to pizza, but I do have to admit things were very much the same without him. The situation did not change very much. We didn't have a team leader, but then Chocolate led and did the same thing, and it was like exactly the same. They really didn't change. Pizza was not a game changer. I'm not gonna be for you. Like, you see, that's kind of the thing about it. I don't think there is a game changer in this cast, Like, is there anybody in this cast whose absence immediately shakes up the competition? Because of it's just that, like, there's no the personalities on the show, they're so not extreme. Like, there's nobody here with an extreme personality, which means that you can go without one or another, right? It's just that, like, when you lose, I guess, like a categories when it doesn't work, right? Like, for example, the game changed when Pear was eliminated in a way, and especially when Popsicle was eliminated, because like we had that mean character type, and then it left. There's no more. Right, so like when the category gets eliminated, it's fine. But when there's like one or the other, it's like, okay. So it's like if pizza gets out, hot dog can just do that, right? Hot dog can do that same role, so it doesn't actually feel that different, right? Because the characters are not super distinct, to be honest. But yeah, Shelly proceeds to tell Slurpee about what was going on. Tells her about the friendship group and stuff. And Slurpee goes, well, at least I made it further. So that's pretty cool. And then we end up going to the elimination. Did I get it correct? The answer is no. I did not. I got it. Baguette did get a lot of votes, but Slurpee got the most at 208 out of the 600 total, by the way. That is a lot. There was the voting count doubled, to be honest. The voting count like doubled. Now that is big stuff. So, I'm not exactly sure what's happening. I don't know how many views the episodes got. Like, that's kind of like, because here's the deal. I know how many views the episodes have now, but like, there's this like weird in between time, right? Like in that like hiatus era, people watch all the shows, but then there weren't new ones coming out, right? So it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? But like back in the day, I don't know how many people watched all of this show. Like I don't know how many views all this got like in 2 days, for example, in the voting window. I have no idea, no clue, no clue. I don't even know how many views BFDI got back in the day. Like that, like this is just a knowledge that I just don't have. I don't know. It might be there, but like yeah. I will wait. Slurpee ends up getting eliminated. I think it's reasonable for Slurpee to get eliminated here. It's a bit of a thing where as you start entering the individual competitions, that Slurpee was starting to miss out more and more, right? Like in the game, in the 1v1 against Battle of the Objects, you see lost handedly because of not having legs, right? In the last challenge, the ski jumping, lost a lot of time because of not having legs, right? So couldn't jump the cord properly, right? All this stuff, it was all becoming problems, right? And you can start to tell that without that team assistance, right, it wasn't really working in the individual setting, as the challenges also have now started to ramp up, I would say, in brutality. Like the challenges are getting more and more dangerous as we're progressing, which I think is on accident. But like, the first few challenges were play a video game, sing a song, and now it's freaking ski down an entire mountain, find the Indiana Jones, or it's like, okay, okay, bro, like things are happening, right? Certain people started to do that. So in terms of like, certain people continue to kind of have this fault, so even in this challenge, it was going to continue to have this fault, right, of like not really being able to quite put it in, when without a direct help, without a strong connection, it was time to go, which is unfortunate. Serpy is officially dipped, and we end up having everybody get a flashlight alongside the except for Peter, who gets a map, and then interestingly enough, we also end up having Bo get nothing. It's interesting because the challenges have been cave exploration, so Bo ends up getting nothing. You see what I mean? Like, there's this interesting kind of like encourage the winners to not win again. Winning 2 challenges shows complicated because of that advantage, right? And it's like, okay, bro. I mean, it's just that, yeah. Because like Bo wouldn't have a flashlight. I mean, thankfully, of course, they're in pairs for the challenge, but imagine if they weren't. Imagine if they weren't in pairs for the challenge. That would have been complicated. It's the 1-year anniversary of BOTO, so that is pretty cool. Right, because 10 months plus that summer break, right? So we end up having the sets of duos. However, the duos are apparently made based on who hasn't interacted so far. Good idea. Now let's try to see. The pairs end up being Shelly and Pizza. That does not sound like an interaction sound very often. Shooty and Chocolate. Yep, those are usually on the other sides. Party Hat and Baguette. Fair enough. And then Hot Dog and Bo. Not sure about this one. To be honest. I mean, like, weren't these 2 the last 2 in the haunted house? Right? Weren't these 2 like the ones in the haunted house? Weren't they the ones that were going like, we the last 2? And they were literally having like a full ass coffee chat for like ages. It's like, I'm not sure about these 2. I feel like they've talked before, compared to the others. I would have probably like I'd probably swapped Hot Dog and Pizza. That's probably what I would have done. I probably would have swapped Hot Dog and Pizza. But other than that, we end up delving ourselves into the cave where there's going to be traps and stuff. You have to get, it's Indiana Jones. You get the relic in the middle, it's on the platform, but don't do that because people attack you and traps and monsters and stuff. Okay, so yeah. We end up having ourselves the challenge. Now, I'm going to be honest, I am not actually a big fan of cave exploration challenges. In terms of what I've been saying about the show, about being creative and stuff, it is a pretty good challenge in terms of the show, because it's another one of those challenges that just sends you somewhere, right? Like, it's a cave that's just, it's a cave, that has nothing to do with any of the locales of the previous challenges, right? And then that's just kind of cool, right? Again, this show creates a division episode by episode that makes 2 episodes never really feel the same, because there's such a variety of locales between them and challenge styles between them, right? So yeah, I've been doing the Cave Exploration Challenge. I don't really like it because it's a lot like a maze. To be honest, it's a lot like a maze, right? And I feel like on average, most people, most shows, and most show creators will agree that a maze challenge is not a great idea. It's not a good idea. It's possible. It's not a good idea because it's random. A viewer will never really feel like the contestants are making any progress. Having a close-eye shot just means that there's generic wall behind them, right? And then it's just the sort, and then you never have any idea where anybody is, right? So it's not great. It's not. You just, like, there's very little progression to the challenge. There's very little for the contestants to actually think about. They just have to walk, right? And then it's not great, right? So maze challenges are very good. However, for some reason, if you wrap up the maze challenge idea with a bow tie and you call it, and then you put it in a cave, and you call it, oh no, it's cave exploration, find the center of the cave, right? Like, oh, don't worry, yes, this is what it is, you know. And then it's like, okay, like, it is the exact same concept, you know, like, it suffers from the same thing. Like, majority of the shots in this episode are a character walking, and then there's just rock behind them. Right, like, majority of the shots, there's that. We don't have any idea where the contestants are until they randomly meet up in the intersection. Okay, alright then. And then, like, you know, it's just luck whether they find the text or not. You know, like, whether they find the text or they find it's not, like, it's just luck. Right, so, it's not amazing, I would say. I mean, it's, I don't know. I mean, it's alright, you know, but it's not exactly masterful. But yeah, we end up having the map. The map is less useful. The map is useless. I mean, okay, no, I'm not necessarily telling you that the map is useless, but I do think that the map could be, it could potentially be useful. The thing about it is, I'm pretty sure the map doesn't tell you where the relic is, right? So that's kind of the problem. But like, you could probably find a landmark, because thankfully there is a landmark, that four-way intersection. There's only one, right? So you find a four-way intersection on the map, you would be looking pretty good. But I don't think they ever look for the four-way intersection, which is unfortunate. But yeah, we end up having some interesting things. Guys, in this episode are pretty good. I actually did like the jokes in it. They're a bit like kind of, they're easy. You know, they're easy to digest jokes, but like they're pretty solid. And then Wild Party Hat doesn't understand any of what Baguette's saying because they don't know how to read the subtitles, which you know, the show is doing a 50-50 on deciding whether people can read the subtitles at the bottom or not. It's like, it depends on the day. You know, it's like flip a coin, as Chocolate says, right? You gotta kind of vibe it out. We end up learning about the father of freaking Baguette. So the father of Baguette is apparently Croissant. So Croissant is a pretty swag fella who apparently lived to adventured everywhere except France, and he was a great cave explorer. And apparently after every exploration that he did, both in a cave and outside and in forest and in mountain, he just explored everywhere. He explored the world. So he explored a cave once, and then he painted what it was like. And then apparently, according to the guy, the painting was just black. I mean, fair? You know, I can't really blame him. I mean, if he was in the cave, it's pretty dark there, and he's just painted black. Wow. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I can't really blame him. In the meantime, Hot Dog and Boat proceed to go while they're walking. Of course, BO.TO requires Hot Dog's assistance to get any type of light. They end up finding some mining hats, yes, which are apparently pink and purple, as their own names suggest. But apparently they were looking for a treasure. They're looking for a treasure. However, the monster do scared us off, so now they're lost. Do we know the way out? Those two should know, I guess, but like, they don't apparently. Yeah, I will admit that it's from the perspective of BO.TO and Hot Dog, I will say that it's a pretty questionable maneuver that they do. Because, I'm sorry, those fellas are running away from that direction, and then they're going like, oh damn, some monster guy scared us. And then you are continuing to go in the direction where they're escaping from. So, well, you see where the problem. I feel like they're gonna encounter some monster if they keep going down this. I mean, they would have found anyways, but like they don't know that. Like, it's a bit of a dubious decision at best. But like, okay then. Then eventually they end up finding some monsters. Some maps get dropped and stuff. Then we end up having some text. Oh yeah, there's the gag about not knowing how to read French. There's the gag about the fourth wall. I forgot about the gag about the fourth wall. Yeah, we all gotta break the fourth wall, or at least Anthony thinks so. Then we get a crazy ass shot of the room. What even? Look at this. Look at this. Look at that blue snowball. Is that a blue snowball microphone? Oh, let's go. This is a fucking blue snowball microphone. they're dressed up in in one of those green screen suits. Fair enough. How to dodge face review. All right then. Let's go with it. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it was such a it screams 2010, the early 2010s, dude. That camera angle. But either way, we end up having Baguette find the text in French after the other fellas, they struggle with it. I mean, they managed to somehow get East out of that text, so they roughly guess it like correctly, but it's not really a bit of an issue. In the meantime, Baguette is speed running after learning about the French language text, because for some reason the cave is French. There's not the cave is. Are they in France? Does this show take place in France? I mean, this show takes place in Grassland HQ, but like in grass, the planet, the country that is just grass. But I don't know. Either way, they get chased out, and after an epic battle, we end up discovering that Pink and Purple actually do have the grand prize. However, as we do that, Pink proceeds to do the classic thing of revealing their plans right in front of their enemies, which is a great idea. And after they reveal the Orb of Power, they end up getting freaking confiscated by 1 million robots, and they get beat up pretty harshly. And you know what? They deserve it. They stole the grand prize. No, they stole the grand treasure. Okay, yeah. Either way, Baguette, who was about to grab it anyways, proceeds to grab it and run away with it. Baguette's pretty fast, so nobody manages to catch up to them. Then that is that. They get the morning coffee, which was apparently the prize, and there we go. Baguette and Party Hat are safe. Everybody else up for elimination. Who should get out? Great question. I don't know. I mean, like, some fellas did pretty poorly. You see, who read it wrong exactly? I don't remember who read the French wrong. Wasn't that freaking... Hold on. Wasn't that Chocolatey? Yeah, Chocolatey read the French wrong. So, maybe that. But Chocolatey and out feels wrong. Then who gets that? You see what I mean? Everybody in this cast is too okay. Everybody in this cast is too average. Okay, you know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say Chocolatey's out. Let's just do that. Let's be bold and say that it's Chocolate's time to go because of failing to read the French. And then the post-credit scene, they get out. So overall, it's an episode that I find alright. I mean, there's not too much for me to critique here. I thought that the strongest part of this episode was the humor, because I think the humor in the show has been like, it's been alright. But this show did have jokes that I did genuinely enjoy quite a bit. I like the joke when we started into the cave where it'd be like, after they walked a long time and they found no valuable light source, and then a character proceeds to say, damn it, we've got no valuable light source, right? Say the specific sentence again. Like, that's funny. I like the fourth wall gag, I think it's fun. I like the reading French wrong. Like, I do think that the guy... Oh, I like the freaking... Eeny, meeny, miny, mo say, don't do that. Let's flip a coin. Much, much fairer. Like, I think the guys in this episode, they are some of the strongest of what the audience has had. However, it's a bit let down by the challenge. So it kind of ends up evens itself out, which is what Brawl of the Objects just does all the time. It's just very even, right? So, yeah. Anyways, it's time for episode 11 of the series. Yes, episode 11 of the series is titled If You Can't Take the Heat. And it's officially time to leave Remaster Zone. Yes, we have leaving Remaster Zone. We are going back to the original upload of this episode, released on July 2016. Alright then. None of that remaster crap anymore. We're going back to basics. 2016. Here we go. If you can't take the heat. Go. Alright, that is episode 11 of Brawl of the Object. So we have resumed to 2016, no more remasters. As far as I'm aware, there is a reason for this. It's because this is after a big hiatus. Yes, big hiatus for Brawl of the Objects from 2014 all the way to 2016. You can tell there's a couple of details here and there that are a little bit different. I would say that the main one, of course, ends up standing at I would say voice acting, not necessarily because the voice acting of this episode is that much different to the voice acting of the last few episodes, because to be 100% honest, I'm not sure what the production pipeline of this episode is, to be honest, because like apparently some of it was animated before already, so that means that it was getting worked on. So was the lines recorded already? Like what, like I don't know what timeline, because the episode released 2016, where we worked on animation for 2 years, were we doing regular production, then we just dipped, like what happened, I don't know. But it does feel like Anthony's definitely, like, the voice is definitely growing, right? Like the voice is getting deeper. Party, like especially on like Shooty or on like Party Hat, like the voice is, we're getting lower, right? Like we're you can tell a little bit from moment to moment, right? And I think that's interesting, as I guess the characters, they're growing alongside. When you have this longer standing show where a lot of the characters' voices aren't necessarily to voice acted, quote unquote, in terms of like putting on a voice, but they're just kind of like a direct vocal equivalent of a person. As time passes, you start to see the voices eke out a bit more as they grow, which is relatively interesting. So that is, I would say, the main thing that I can spot. I also spotted Party Hat's a bit different. Party Hat feels just more hyper this episode. I don't know what it is about it, because Party Hat is always relatively excited, but like they're not like jiggling. In this episode, Party Hat is like kind of very moving around a lot, right? So does give me a more general high energy than I've seen in other episodes, right? In terms of watching it from the past, of course, from the non-remaster, I mean, it feels mildly different, because of course the quality is not like 1080, it's 720, right? So and not every like background and stuff is at the highest res, but like on average it sorts out everything that it has to, right? At least from this era, we were still fully gaming. Like we've got all the assets covered. Microphone's good, okay. The mic quality is good mic quality, okay. It's always been relative. It's always been very serviceable mic quality, but now it's good mic quality, right? Audio mixing is always something that I was pretty happy about this show. At least from the remasters, it's audio mixed pretty well. I checked a little bit of the other ones. It wasn't, again, it's not like perfect, but even looking at this episode, it's audio mixed pretty well. There's only like one song that might be a little loud, right? Like in general, everything's looking good, So switching back to the past, it doesn't work with it, and I think that doing the transition from remaster to non-remaster here makes a lot of sense, and it feels very smooth. I did not feel like I got taken out of the experience nearly at all. So yeah. Anyways, Party Hat and Shooty decide that it's alliancing time. Hell yeah! They've officially decided that first alliance ever. Everybody keeps going. Everybody in the past 10 episodes would go like, "Ooh, what are they gonna do in an alliance?" And then for once, it took 11 episodes, but somebody did an alliance. I know, right? Unbelievable. I never thought I'd see the day. But yes. Also, in the meantime of growth, we've also had B.O.T. B.O.T is officially capable of speaking French. Let's go. Language learned. Tick the box. Yes. So B.O.T ends up being very nice. Baguette's very happy about this information. But Hot Dogs has apparently made a translator 3000, which will help translate Baguette's words. Baguette tries it out. However, it's actually a trolling machine, so I'm pretty sure it was like a joke. So it goes well. So much for that machine. Nope, French will still be French. It goes how it goes. Either way, we end up having the elimination 500 votes, and the eliminated contestant ends up being Bo. Yeah, I got it wrong. I was not expecting Bo at all. However, you can tell from the results of this elimination that the viewers are unsure, right? You can tell that there isn't an evil in this, like there isn't really an evil going on in the show, right? It's very much so like is all so neutral, right? Like 122 for Bo, 118 for Shelly, 106 for Chocolatey, and 91 for Shieldy. You see how evened out those votes are, right? Like, we just don't know who to vote out here. We really don't. The only person that gets completely safe is Pizza, because of the general consensus agreement that rejoiners shouldn't get out that early, right? Like, that's the only person that really escapes the batch. Other than that, everybody's just in this batch, because everybody's so, like, neutrally just, like, relatively fine, right? Like, but there's not too much to make somebody a favorite. Right, there's not enough here to make somebody a favorite, but there's not enough here to make anybody a hater, right? So it ends up that it makes this type of bias, right? Especially as Baguette's not here. So yeah, everybody gets the prize of a controller statue, and then we end up having Chocolate get a recipe, because the challenge is a cooking challenge. Yes, you get 1 hour to cook, I think, to cook with whatever you can find in the gigantic pile of ingredients. Then guest judges will rate it all. Now, what do I think about this challenge? Sounds pretty good. It's another one of those classic challenges, right? It's another one of those classic challenges. All of the classic object shows did a cooking challenge because it is a simple idea. It's a good idea. It's an easy way to see skill in an aspect, in an area, right? Like, you know, can you cook good or can you not cook good? It's very simple, right? Especially considered, like, you know, get somebody to judge, and then the best will win, the worst will lose, right? Like, you can't cheat it too much. It's a simple challenge. It's a nice challenge. Everybody understands it. Everybody knows how cooking food goes, right? And you also get a lot of creativity with it, because food is just so broad of a concept, right, that you can make any dish. However, we're also in a fictional world, so you can make any dish. You know, like, it's about perspective, so it's nice. And this show continues, you know, just tick off the list of things it hasn't quite done before. It just keeps on, okay, sure, you know, okay, cooking. No, I don't like the classic object show checklist. They go like haunted house, check. The freaking talent show, check. Cooking challenge, check. Right, it does all of these things. And yeah, I'm away debating what to do. Hot Dog's very be like, I don't know how to cook anything, so this is bad. In the meantime, Chocolatey ended up finding a recipe for baconless bacon cookies. Will admit, not the greatest recipe sounding in the world. And indeed, I mean, they need to get sulfuric acid, and they need to get freaking baking soda. I mean, baking soda, that's fine. Well, I mean, for cookie, yeah. But like, on average, it's like, yeah, it's not exactly a great recipe, and Chocolatey did not realize it. Chocolatey, you know, tried to follow it, because, you know, Controlly has been getting a little bit more cheeky with it, you know, cheeky with the prize, giving a lantern for the haunted house to the team that you're just gonna turn into a ghost anyways, right? Like, you know. Shieldy and Party Hands are doing it. Party Hands are finding food coloring, which ends up being a problem, but we'll talk about the foods in a moment as we head up one-on-one with them, right? Either way, we end up having some interesting things happen. So somebody ends up dropping by at the fridge. I don't even remember when this is. But what's... hold on, wait. Well, what is the order of events of this episode? Because, yeah, they're just finding stuff. Yeah, they're having interactions, you know, whoever helping. So Pizza and Hot Dog go together. And, you know, Chocolate's trying to find ingredients. So Shelly's chilling out after, you know, trying to help out with Hot Dog earlier. Then Baguette's making their recipe in secret. Nobody's allowed to see it. Yeah, lemon cake is what Pizza's doing. Then we end up having Chocolatey look for ingredients. And then they find the green emerald. Remember the one? Have you seen the princess? That showed up a while ago. No, they have not seen the princess, so they proceed to just dip away. And then Hot Dog opens the fridge. So that is Rook. Frozen. It's frozen, Rook. The rook is freeze. Not alive, frozen. It's real. Ain't no way. What? That's crazy. They're actually doing this? They're actually playing on it. Look at his facial expression. What happened to you, man? How did you get in this situation? How did this happen? How did you got shoved into a fridge? I mean, look at those eyes. What happened? Did you? You must have lost. Is this nefarious intent? I feel like it's implying that it's nefarious intent, but I'm gonna be 100% for real. Seeing the nature of this show, I have a feeling that it's just the guy just locked himself in the fridge. You know, I don't know, threw away the keys. I don't know how that would happen. So he just slowly freezes to death. I don't something would have happened like that. I feel like he would. I feel like no, we didn't control. Didn't freeze him. That's my prediction. But okay, that is interesting. But I can't believe that I clocked it as well. I mean, it's not a hard thing to clock. It's just that type of detail where you think it wouldn't matter, but it actually does. So that's interesting, man. That's cool. This is cool. This is cool how that matters. Okay. Either way, we end up having Pizza ask it to knit an oven. Apparently, knitting an oven is one of the easiest things to knit. Okay, all right. How does knitting work in this show? I'm sensing some not understanding from me about how knitting works in this universe. I was like, wait a minute, you just like it's an oven. An oven needs metal, man. You knit metal, and then also, by the way, a knitted oven. Oven, of course, the fact that it wouldn't function sounds like the greatest fire hazard in the history of fire hazards. But all right then. Shelly's making candy apples. In the meantime, Shiodi is trying to make an ice cream cake. We end up having Chocolatey do as many things as they can. Dank memes is one of them. Okay, bro. And then everybody ends up cooking like within their one oven. Because they made one oven, so everything is cooked in one oven, which ends up being a little bit problematic. We end up having a montage. Shuri forgets to put their cake in the friggin' thing, and then we end up having some things. But let's go dish by dish. So, by the way, the winners are the fan artist, winners. The fan art contest. I get to be on the show. That is cool. They're judges that they feel relatively opinionated as well, which is kind of fun. Like, they're not like, we actually gave in the effort to give these judges personality, right? Because that is something that can sometimes happen, right? Where it's like you write in a judge that's gonna be a guest, right? But then you write it beforehand, so you just write the most generic possible NA character. So then when they show up, it's like, okay, I mean, there's a judge here, but like, right? But I do like how there's actual personality given to the three of them, so that's cool. I wonder if they go. Do you think? Hold on. All right, I know they totally didn't, but do you think they go to actually rate the dishes? Like, that'd be cool, right? Like, what if they just actually rated the dish? You know, I know they didn't eat it in real life, but like, what if they go to like actually, you know, like give it rating? Like, they actually go to see what the pastiche asset look like, and it was like, or whatever. Wait, you're not called it. What is it called? Poutine. What pastiche? What is a pastiche? Oh my god! I know it's a singer. Okay, stop. Pretend I didn't say anything. Pouton. Oh, whatever it's called. Is it called Pouton or Poutine? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. But they literally debated this for in the episode, and I already forgot. It's hard, alright? I wanted to go to see the assets and rate it. Anyways, we end up having Baguette's Pouton, which is pretty good. It gets a 26 out of 30. Ends up being pretty solid. The only problem is that it's a little hot because it was put on the stove with the cloth, right? Which means that it ended up absorbing way more heat than it had to. Then Chocolate ended up making the baconless bacon cookies. Surprisingly enough, managed to pull them off. However, it just so happens that this is actually a play on the factoid that, you know, artificial food's not very good. So, yep, 30. Not great, I will have to admit there. On that perspective, Hot Dog makes mac and cheese. The 10-minute mac and cheese. The science book really likes it, but on average, we end up getting an 18. It's very alright, and it's, you know, it's one of those kind of, if you were trying to get out of the bottom, that'd be very good, because of course, you know, there's a median where trying to do the best and failing will get you worse than just somebody who tried to be average, right? In this case, we tried to be average and nearly worked. Then we ended up having Party Hats bowl cake. Good idea. However, they dunked an entire bottle of rainbow food coloring on it. What the hell are you doing? Have you ever ate a food? Interesting decision. Yeah, it was not great. Then it was Pizza. Pizza walks in with the lemon cake, proceeds to trip, and it goes on the floor. And they're giving it a 3. The fellas will not eat it off the floor. I mean, like, you could eat it from like the bottom. No, okay. Nah, they would not be able to do it. I wouldn't eat it either. So yeah, unfortunate. They got an 8. That's so nicer to be honest. To be honest, I'd probably give it food I didn't eat 5 on by default, right? Because it doesn't count. Then we have the candy apples from Shelly, which end up getting a 999, making a 27, which beats by 1 point Baguette's score. Yes, the candy apples clutch the hell up. That is solid. That is solid stuff, man. That is some solid stuff. I mean, it's one of those kind of like, do a simple dish well. Do something simple well, because it's difficult to judge a candy apple, you know. Like, I feel like on average, those judges will probably tell you that B.O.T.O was better, right? However, the candy apple, it's a simple thing that if you judge it in the context of itself, it's easier to do very well. It's easier to do correctly. So it was a smart one for Shelly. Then we had having the final cake from Shieldy, which is a little weird. It ends up getting average points, and then that's that. Shelly wins, and we end up officially discovering that we have a double elimination. Yes, double elim from now on. That's probably how. I mean, okay, I don't know, because the show ends in 2 episodes, so I'm a bit confused by that. Not exactly sure how that's possible. But look, we'll have to find out in due time. In the meantime, we end up having voting. Now, it's 2016, so times have actually changed. Of course, there's been the 2-year gap, and I believe that, you know, it would have allowed the show to grow and get a bit more popular. So, would the opinions have realistically changed about any of these characters? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, Baguette, I feel like Baguette's not going. But 2 people, no, Baguette's going. Never mind. No, Baguette's going. Maybe not in 11 seconds. Baguette's going. Wait, who though? Like, wait, hot dog? No. Who's going, man? I thought Party Hat didn't get that. It got a lot of votes usually, and they fucked up the challenge, right? Like, they're the one who most directly fucked up. Right, because, I mean, like, Pizza tripped, that's unfair. Shooty did fine, Hot Dog did fine, Baguette did well, but I feel like they get eliminated for being the quote-unquote mean one, and speaking the other language, if people don't like that. So, Party Hat and Baguette. I'm gonna get 0 for 2. It's somehow gonna be chocolate pizza, but I'm saying Baguette and Party Hat. That has to be my prediction, because otherwise I don't know. I have no idea. And then at the final moment, by the way, we're having Chocolate talk to the princess. What do you mean? The prince. Is that there's the out of here? Hold on. You know, not having about it. Like, you know, with all this talk of like, where's the princess? This is the princess. Does the rook have anything to do with that? Does the rook have anything to do with princess here, princess there? Like, what's going on? Right, because you keep on the castles down there, and here they're the freaking diamond princess. Like, do you need to freeze or something? And then rook will be like, oh my god. Right, like, what's going on? I don't know. I have no idea, but that's interesting to see. Or these are just gags. They're probably just gags. I don't know. Either way, episode 12 of Brawl of the Objects. We should probably check what the release dates are now that they're there. This was July 6th. Episode 12 was July 29th. Wow. What? Hello? Yo, speedrun mode. Alright, then, okay, episode 12 of Brawl of the Objects is titled Rookie Mistakes. Go. Okay, so that is episode 12 of Brawl of the Objects, and whereas in episode 11, that is a 2014 episode transformed into a 2016 episode by the simple avenue of time having passed, whereas the episode was originally written then and started to be animated then as well. This is in the occurrence of the opposite scenario. This is what happens when we get our hands on the show 2 years later. And you can tell that we're not exactly happy with it. So something's going on here. Something's happening around here, and you can tell that there's a lot of trying speed running. There's a lot of speed running going on. You see how this show seems to be in rush mode, seems to be like, I need to get this over with, I need to get it done. So we end up pretty much making up some stuff, right? Being like, oh, yep, gotta host other stuff, right? Then characters don't like a character. It's my bad. It was actually, my bad. I was doing French stereotypes and stuff. Now I'm actually English, it's just all looking good, right? So, like, you see, because that is, that's just that. And then we end up having some other situations, and also, the whatever the hell the episode structure of this even is, of course, is entirely different, right? We end up being like, oh, I'm like older now. I'm gonna like try out like deep stuff, all right? If you don't mind, I'm gonna try to be like edgy. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, this episode is the unlucky beneficiary of what happens when you try to do a 180 in 5 minutes. It's like, okay, bro, I can tell you're doing a 180 in 5 minutes. Okay, you're not subtle. you're not subtle. This is incredibly obvious that you do not like these things about it, and therefore you're just switching it up to try to get an ending that appeals to the you of now that would not have happened in the you of 2 years ago, right? I don't know, because you of now is in you of 2016, right? It's kind of like, okay, I mean, all right. it's all right. I mean, like, whatever, right? Let's take, how about this? Okay, look, other than that, which, I still think is like, okay, especially that baguette is like, really? Okay, I understand, you made the character French stereotype, but like, because they're a good cook, and they're also French, and they're a baguette. But it's like, okay, you can develop that. You don't have to just like do 180 it and say, oh, I'm fake. I don't actually speak French. No, I do. I mean, like, I'm not actually really French. Like you can develop it out of that rather than subtract everything and make it that randomly Baguette was faking it all this time. Cause like, what is even the point in doing that? I don't. What? What? Why, man? Like, what are we achieving by performing this maneuver? I don't know. But either way, I know that I'm gonna go over time with this episode. Apparently, by the way, I'm sorry. I just think that it's quite the sentence of semi-horrific content. I've never heard it, and I think it's quite funny. I'm sorry. I'm kind of clowning on this episode. But anyways, we end up having a surprise birthday party for Scissors over in Dreamland. As we end up having one final wish for Scissors is that Scissors, after admitting that Rook is pretty cool, ends up saying that they want one thing to end, which is Brawl of the Objects. This enlightens Rook, and by enlightens I mean sends them to the darkest pits of hell. I don't even know. I proceed to go insane. They're remembering Brawl of the Objects. We get this imagery that, like, okay, here's the deal. Like, this is a thing, but like, it's difficult with this modern perception, right? Because like, it was more of a thing then. Okay, it was then, it was fine, but it doesn't age great because this exact type of animation has become synonymous with stereotypical edgy vent animation that a teenager makes. This has become legitimately just synonymous with it, or like the rough lines, and then the red appears, and then it's drawn roughly, and then the lines over the eyes or whatever, right? Like I don't even know what it means. There's like stuff going on background, and like there's like there's a castle, there's the king, I think, that appears, and then they go insane, and then they eventually jump out of the window, because of course they did, and then Scissors goes like, what the hell? So then we end up having the elimination, by the way. So in the elimination, it ends up that the eliminated contestants are Baguette and Chocolatey. But again, Chocolatey are the two characters that end up getting eliminated, so I got one of them wrong. Chocolatey actually got the most votes by a significant margin. I mean, I guess. Like, you tried to follow a recipe and you failed, but, like, I think it was reasonable to follow the recipe. No, I mean, you got a usually the advantages for the challenges are advantages, but I guess people are like kind of like, oh, you weren't creative when inventing it and stuff, right? So you shouldn't have done that and whatever. Okay, like, all right, then. Oh yeah, 2016 viewers are meaner, right? In 2016 they were meaner, you know. 2014 viewers, we chill. 2016 viewers, me hater. Like, but. Yeah, we're now in the final five. Who is gonna win Brawl of the Objects? Is Shieldy probably, right? Because Shieldy keeps getting the least votes. She only gets like an epic 2% of votes every time. So I mean, well, I guess it's not a very eventful character, but like I think they're gonna win. I don't know, it just makes sense. It just makes sense, and it's also considered like out of the Brawl of the Objects character, I feel like I see Shieldy more. I mean, I see Party Hat more because like Party Hat is channel branding, but like I feel like I'd see Shieldy more in terms of like a representation of the season. So I think Shieldy probably wins. While Hot Dog, Peace, and Shelly, like I don't see them, so I feel like they don't win. So I'm gonna say that Shieldy wins, but I don't really know. Either way, we end up having the post-credit scene, and then to be fair, they actually do make a challenge with a stick. Fair enough. I mean, it was fair enough. Hey, they're pretty creative. I mean, like, make the best finale you can challenge. Oh yeah, this episode is. I mean, look, on its own, it's that. What is it? What do I think? Like, because, no, on its own, this stands as pretty poor, right? This stands as the show coming into speedrun, which, whether it's a smaller show, whether it's a bigger show, but, you know, I still believe it 100% in the opinion. If you don't want to put in the mega effort, I don't think you should put in the effort, right? You know, it goes how it goes, right? It's kind of one of those, like, yo, like, if we're really taking in this show, if we're really taking the show back, should we really do a 180 to everything it stood for? Doesn't seem right, you know? Like, if we don't want to continue what the train was going, it's just gonna harm itself, both in the past and the future, right? Like, it just harms both of them, so at that point, just make another show. But, like, in this scenario, we're gonna need to see, right? Because you know it's very much just a setup episode, so we're gonna need to see, all right? Because actually, even with the Rook stuff, I mean, like, I don't know what happened. Do you know? I don't know. This is freaking. It just went insane. All right, like we're just gonna need to see. And the bro literally just went insane, right? Like, I don't know, okay, and all that stuff. So okay then, but yeah, overall, yeah, as an episode on its own, I will admit it stands on pretty poorly. It completely 180s the vibe. It completely 180s the speed. It completely 180s the setting. It completely 180s what was previously being set up, and it just kind of complicates everything. So not exactly sure about it, but you know. Even though I, of course, am not a big fan of shows that take directions like this, I will give it, on this scenario, the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just going to say, okay, sure, let's do that. Now give me a finale. Episode 13, how it all ended. Go. Okay, so that is episode 13 of Brawl of the Objects. How it all ended. Alright, so interesting. It's another break. It's another big break between episode 12 and episode 13. As you can see, September 1st, 2018. So from episode 12, which was like 2016, then you could tell it's been another 2 years since that episode, and you can tell that it's definitively a different idea to what was the original. Because I mean, I read the description, episode 12. It says, yo, I want to make the finale short as well. Yeah, sure you do. As something, yeah, there has been a rechange of plans between that episode and this episode that I think has kind of given a bit of of the passion back. Because the thing about it is that episode, like, I'm gonna be honest, right? Like, when you look at that episode 12, right, like, do you see like I mean, I see passion, but it's just like something's missing with that episode 12. Something's wrong there, you know. It's a type of episode that, like, it kind of bugged me the wrong way, because it was like sort of it was doing such a 180. You know, it was literally swerving the entire corner, and it was like, well, you're trying to, like, you're like changing what the main plot is, while at the same time, like you're like changing what the main plot is in a way by, like, focusing on Rook, and then by having this, like, edgier, darker plot to what's not a dark series, and then, like, making it super fast, and apparently just trying to speed up to the end of the show, and it's like, it's kind of weird, right? But I don't know if at that time when the finale, if it would have ended up good. To be honest, I don't know. I don't think I would have liked it. I do not trust that 2016 division at all. But heading into this vision, I think that this is cool, because it's just one of those finales that they really feel finale, right? A lot of that, okay, well, admit, a lot of that is definitely finale in the sense of, like, we have just an improvement in how it looks, so it feels better than the other episodes, right? Because, of course, animation quality has stepped up significantly since about 2016. We've got camera angles, we got proper lighting work, we got just a little bit different stuff, and you can tell that we've gotten better at writing a script, because you know what I was realizing? You know what I was realizing when I was watching this episode? I didn't even notice. No character in this show has, like, ever spoken quietly. That's just, like, not a thing that's happening. Like, I saw a character whisper to another one. I saw Pizza in the buzzer be like, oh, the place is gonna be lame anyways. And I was like, wait a minute, I have never seen a character talk like that in this show. I was like, oh, whoa. I just go mind blown. I was like, wait, yeah, you can talk quietly. And it's because, like, let's see, we're just, like, better as we become more dynamic as well at it, right? Which is nice. The characters they've got more versatility to them as well. So we've improved on that aspect. We've improved, of course, general audio quality is just mildly improved as well. Almost like a singer has good microphones. Then we have yeah, that's good. Writing's good. Everything's good. Animation's good. Especially, like, in that tree, for example. Like, the tree is very solid. And then it's just jam-packed with references, dude. This is references everywhere. This goes like bing, bang, bada, boom. Right? And, it's always nice, you know. You can say that, oh yeah, but doing the finale that saw references is lame because it's actually is rehashing and it's like it's fan service or whatever, right? Or whatever they call it. And it's like, okay, yeah. But also, it's the finale. Like, just have fun, you know? It's the finale. Have fun. I 100% welcome in having a finale that just crams in as much of the show's past as it can within it. I'm absolutely into it. Now, usually a lot of the time what these shows do is they make the last challenge the reference challenger, right? Like, they, and then allow the finale to be a setter, right? Because that is a thing that shows tend to do. Because to kind of set in its own identity, you want to have a finale that can be original. So a lot of time what shows do is they have the second to last episode, or like the last challenge, be the sort of celebratory episode, right? That's why so many shows do the famous last challenge of all of the previous challenges combined. That way, you reference everything, right? And it feels like that. So usually I would recommend something along those lines, right? Of like, do the reference one in the second last episode, and then the final episode you can, add in your own stuff that's going to be in the finale, and that you can reference later, right? However, in this case, I think it's fine because, well, first of all, you set yourself up in that position, 2016. But like, the second thing is that like, Brawl of the Objects was not happening. Like, there's no more Brawl of the Objects happening. We're not doing a season 2 of this, right? I don't mean it in any kind of negative way that it doesn't deserve it, right? Because I do think that a Brawl of the Objects season 2 would be a thing that, I guess would function, but like, it's just not in the nature, right? I feel like we moved on to different careers, right? I feel like the making object show career, we're not quite going down that route, right? And I feel like we could realize that wasn't exactly what we wanted to do then either. Of course, now it's obvious, right? Because, but like, then I think it was also pretty clear. To where like it wasn't exactly the path. So I think now, yeah, you can dunk in all references from there, and it's everywhere, even from this news outlet, right, where they have like lava lamp show up at the bottom. In the other news, right, and then we had having to start with the straw, right, from Battle of the Objects, who apparently won the race. So that's kind of fun, because remember, they were a very good racer back in that one challenge. So at this point, like, I don't even know how to talk about this episode, because this episode is going to be spot the reference. It's going to be like, okay, so here they reference this, and then they reference that, and then they reference that, and it's like, okay. But yeah, we actually end up having some interesting information here at the beginning that apparently, the original game English settlers made when they first arrived in Canada, the monarchs would have their servants compete to win freedom from their duties. The game, however, was said to be cursed because in the old finale, one finalist died before finishing, and the other vanished without a trace. By retracing the steps of the game, I hope to uncover where the missing contestant is. So this is the only time in this episode, except for technically the one where they talk about the freezer with the eggs, or the rock dude says that, but every single time, but this is the only time that the Rook subplot is referenced in in this finale, which is interesting. Because, okay, we figured it out. There's literal crumbs of the plot here. We need to like piece it together, right? Jigsaw puzzle. So from that one frame in the emo in the emo going insane that Rook's having, right? There's one frame of them kind of like the background having the queen of the Rook, everything, and then kind of being fallen on the floor. So what happened? No idea. However, it seems as if. And I mean, they got mad. Dude, I don't exactly remember Rook's words in the last episode. However, they said something about, like, winning. I don't know. Because, like, they maybe tried to do a shortcut by going in a freezer? No, because, like, okay. Because the only thing I'm confused about is how did you freeze? Right? Like, how did you get into this position? Because, okay, let's say you were in the finale of the original Brawl of the Objects, okay? Alright, let's go with that, okay? So, if you were in the finale of Brawl of the Objects original medieval version, how did you end up in a freezer? That is a great question. I don't exactly know. But yeah, the game's cursed because someone was said to die. Okay, so they can't be the one who died. So they have to be the one that's gone missing. And presumably they went missing because they're in the freezer. I think is the plot line that is getting seen. There is a Rook Explain video that's next on this playlist. I'm not watching that because not an episode. I mean, like, I might watch it on my own time. However, for the right now, for the catch-up, we're just watching this, okay? So, yeah, as far as that's going on, so that's what I think's happened. That's from watching the show. I think what happened is in the medieval show, Rook tried to get a shortcut, because I think they referenced that, and by trying to do a shortcut in the final challenge to the race, they eventually somehow locked themselves into a freezer and froze to Dreamland. And then, in the meantime, the game is cursed because the other winner, whoever the hell it was, died. Okay, so that's going on. And then that's that. So that's interesting. Anyways, we eventually end up setting up the finale, because remember, it's the final 5. In the meantime, we're still talking alliances as if that matters. This is on, oh, we gotta break up the alliance. Oh, why? Why do you got me? It's the final challenge. What do you mean? Break up the alliance. What do you think the final challenge is gonna be, bro? I don't know, but either way, they're gonna do it. They all have their monologue. Then we end up having the intro for that final time. Everybody gets unfrozen, so poor Rook is gonna be left there alone. And either way, we end up having the live audience there, and we're having the challenges. So there's 3 mini challenges, which you're gonna define one aspect of your skill. One person gets eliminated from each, and then the final 2 will compete in a race. So we start off here with the physical challenge, which is to run up the plank, catch a box, and put it in your container. First of 3 wins. So people do this relatively easily. Shelly struggles with physicality, so it needs to do it very slowly. And then Hot Dog is putrid at this, because remember, Hot Dog's whole thing is that they cannot catch boxes. Now, back in the olden episodes of BO.TO, we did take this into consideration in the, like, we did turn this into an ongoing gag, right? Oh, the box teleports behind them somehow, but so we do know that these bosses break physics and stuff, however, we then discovered it's the hackers doing, so that's fair enough. But yeah, everybody does it until eventually, after a lot of focus, Hot Dog manages to catch a box, and they jump up into the sky, and then they freeze in the sky. Not freezes and but they catch the box in the sky and go, let's go. And Shelly just goes, okay, I guess I'll do it. And Shelly is very bad at physical activity. I mean, like, I guess, okay. I mean, comparatively speaking to the other one-handed contestants, no, one hand. What? To the other contestants without arms, right? I do that. But to be fair, I haven't tried skipping through an entire log. Sounds pretty complicated. So let's yeah. I guess I've not tried that personally. So I should not be one to talk in this scenario, right? So yeah, Hot Dog's been eliminated. Good job to the hacker. Yeah, I still 100% believe my comment from yesterday. I have never seen a more Newgrounds air-looking character than I have here. But I swear, you gotta be from Newgrounds. If you're not Newgrounds, you gotta get sent to Newgrounds immediately. But yeah, then we end up discovering what the example people are. They're like robots whose apparently their only purpose is to be in Brawl the objects. They do have like opinions though. They like the Shieldy because they are the shiniest. I mean, that's kind of cool. Then Popsicle goes over to the girls. They root for Pizza because Pizza is hot, quote unquote, which is interesting. Then they do what I can only describe as family friendly dirty talk about pizza. That's the best way I can bother to describe it. And then we're gonna have the second challenge, the trivia challenge about Brawl of the Objects. Do you end up having some honestly pretty good questions, to be honest. Then we end up doing that. What made a pizza develop during the transitional phase? Somehow pizza doesn't know. What do you mean you don't? What, you don't know? What are you? Were you never a baby pizza? What? I mean, I don't know how object biology. I mean, I didn't take the object biology class that Shelly took, but like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is some of this. But yeah, Shelly makes it. Shelly wins. Then Shieldy wins because of the cave question, and then finally at the end, the final question, which was, why was Party Hat doing that? Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah. Oh, I completely forgot about this. Dude, there's so many references, I forgot them. Yeah, the final question, why was Party Hat chosen to pick first? And the answer was, because it's the OC. I mean, it's obviously the OC. Okay, by the way, Pizza in this episode is a little bit different in terms of, it's the only character that I can distinguish a bit in the personality set. Well, Party Hat showed out a bit more, but is showed back to where they were. Pizza feels a little bit meaner. in this episode, just a little bit. It's like their personality was a bit more refined. Like, it's now different than the others. It's subtle, but it is different than the others. You can tell that they're a little bit more dismissive, right? I would say is the word. I use the word dismissive to describe a lot of things, but I think it's a good word to describe like a mildly mean character that kind of doesn't value a lot. But like, it's very mild. It's very, very mild, but you can see that it's there, right? In this episode, that it wasn't really in the other episode, but in this one, it's there a little bit. But yeah, it's DOC, which is fun. Did the other people notice that it was DOC? I mean, okay, is it DOC? Yes, it is DOC. I mean, the party had, they got a lot of screen time, and of course, I mean, you can see, look at the channel branding. Can you see it? Look at the profile. It's there on the screen. I forgot. Look at the bottom left of the Catchup. Look at that profile. Well, who do you think that is? So yes, correct. But yeah, it was not the reason. The reason is because they were on the driver's seat. I mean, they were on the driver's seat probably because they were DOC. But yeah, BO.T was about to kick the fourth wall, and then the fourth wall crushes on them. Which, if you think about it, is a reference to the Ghost Challenge. Just saying. Just saying. But yeah, Pete ends up being eliminated. Then we end up having selling lemonade for $20. Yep, reference that. Then we end up having the social aspect, so you need to get the most votes for you. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I thought Shooty was out here. After seeing these votes, I thought Shooty was mega out. But it seems as if but Party actually got out by one vote, because I guess like Party Hat's votes were single handed. In the where, like, you know, one person voted, you know, like when people voted Shooty, it was like, you know, it was like the example guy, so that's like 3, and then the other ones were like 2, right? So yeah, except for Square, we actually voted Party Hat. You are a Square, correct? that was you see, but this is why I never judge humor too much, because that was the funniest gag in the episode to me. You are a Square. And it's the square. It's just like a 4-second long silent shot of the square. That was, you know what I'm saying? That was peak comedy. This was as Pencil would call it, hilarious. You know, it was. But yeah, we ended up doing it. Lord underscore entrust in Party Hat. Our Party Hat ends up getting eliminated. Then the final two, Shooty and Shelly, for once they're actually rooted for, and we end up having the race. And now with the race, we end up taking various capabilities. But before that, we discovered the prize, which is a golden ticket. Yes, the golden ticket will let you go to Willy Wonka's chocolate. No, I'm joking. It will let you get to make one wish. Don't go extravagant with it, but it will let you make any wish within reason. So that's cool. Is it good? Yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing. Yes, the prize of you get to make one wish is a very generic prize in object shows. True. However, I mean, if there's any show that's allowed to do that, it's this one. Come on now. if there's any show that's allowed to be the trendsetter for this for this prize archetype of wish should be Brawl of the Art. If there's any show that has that to merit, that has that warranty, that has that right, it's this one. So yes, you can make your prize a golden ticket to get one wish, right? In the same way, we're like, the prize for II being $1 million is like, you know, it's a generic prize to get $1 million. Yes, but if there's any one show that's allowed to do that, it's an anime insanity, right? So like, it's fine. Then they go off to the races. They use various tactics, such as battle monsters, to attack Shelly and therefore have a battle. Shelly somehow actually wins the battle against the monster. Well, whatever the alternate timeline where Shelly just dies. What about the alternate time where Shelly just loses the battles in the mustache? And then eventually we end up having the guy who's trying to look for the princess. He finds the princess. He found the princess. Oh my god. You can tell the animation work, by the way, is significantly improved just on average, right? Look at the amount of facial expression that are getting done. It's just higher level, right? And it's a tasteful facial expression as well. It doesn't suffer from that, like, earlier, like, couple years ago, a couple years before this, the problem that, you know, obviously we started to have of, like, it being exaggerated expression, right? This show, it has, like, expression, but it has it to a reasonable degree, right? It has to a degree where it gives variety, but not... but like where it gives variety, but not like just freaking over explosion, right? Like when it has to show it, it shows it. Otherwise, it doesn't. it does show unique expressions when it doesn't usually. But anyways, as Diamond ends up doing that, they apparently met a new man and married them. So we have officially had this discovery. And we end up having this fella. What was their name? I don't remember. Oh yeah, Gareth the dragon. So Gareth met a dragon. So apparently Diamond D was chilling one day, and then they flew down, saw a diamond, accidentally didn't realize that the diamond was a person, so kidnapped the diamond, and then proceeded to realize that the diamond was a person, and then after they realized that the diamond was a person, they were like, I guess, okay, fine, I have accidentally kidnapped a person, I might as well talk to them, and then it turns out that they liked each other a lot, so yippee, happy story, and then they fly away to live happily ever after. Let's go. Yeah, I will have to agree with Scissors on this one. If you are Emerald, that is a big hit. That is a big oof. That is a big oof to your self-esteem. I don't think there's recovering from that one. Yeah, fair enough, because there isn't recovery from that. Like you don't show up for the rest of the episode and for the rest of Brawl of the Objects' universe, because I don't think that is there. Are we? I don't think I mean, like, yeah, I don't think there's another episode incoming. Was there supposed to be? I feel like there was supposed to be one, but then there wasn't. But then there was again. But then there stopped being one. I don't know what's happening. Is that supposed to exist? Whatever. Either way, we end up having Shelly run away, and as they're tired, they end up bumping into a rock person. Remember the rock people from the cave? Because the fact that they helped them get their prize back, we end up having them eventually get help from the rock fella. So now Shooty is completely lost and without any solutions. They wonder if there was any convenient solution that would show up, and then the ever convenient shopping mall shows up. So apparently this is a mobile shopping mall, which is interesting. It just shows up whenever somebody says it. There cannot be that many people in this universe, I guess. I mean, how does that work? I know this does not matter, but how would that function? You just say, oh, if only there was an ever convenient shopping mall available today. Like, if you're a shill for it, it'll just show up at your front door. Like, are there, like, variants? Is that why there's not that many people? Like, they're just one. It's just like it's like there's various mobile ones, and they just move. And then I mean, like, but then what happens when somebody's in it, right? Or does it like stay in place until somebody's in it, and then it's like one's closed, and then they tax? It's like a taxi service where whatever. I don't know what I'm on about. What am I saying? I don't know. I'm kind of. Can you tell? I'm kind of giddy right now. I don't know. I'm kind of vibing. I'm kind of just. I'm talking. I'm saying shit. I'm doing stuff. I'm watching Brawl of the Objects. It's a Sunday. I'm just kind of vibing it out. All right. But either way, we end up having them rob the place with a car, minimum wage job. You see, again, it's what I mean. Like, this type of guy, like, oh, minimum wage job's not enough. Like, you just don't, like, this is just not a thing that's written in the other episode. It's just not a thing that's written in the other episode, which is really interesting, right? Like, you don't, like, characters did not ever speak in low tones. That is really interesting, or at least not in any notable way. It's very, very intriguing. But either way, we had Lost Melon. Huh? Okay, anyway, sorry. I don't know what I found. But yeah, the car crashed because Shioti's not good at driving it. Now, remember, from that episode, they crashed into the candy store. Then we ended up egging the house of the fellas from of the freaking the minor hats because we want to troll them again. However, the big orange chicken arrives. Hears this and decides that it's time to unleash. So they proceed to unleash a billion eggs, and then one of them hatches into a little chicklet or whatever. What is a chick is what it's called? Yes, into a little chick, and everybody thinks that's pretty cute. But then we realize, what about the other eggs? Well, they end up freaking drowning the rock guy. Yeah, drowning the rock guy. Now that's pretty bad. So yeah, all of those chicks do their job, and then it's a final sprint. And then in this final sprint, they end up proper racing it, and then Shelly decides it's time to make one last charge, final charge. However, unfortunately for Shelly, they screwed up the timing. They did the takeover so early. I mean, you can tell, look, it was so early, man. Like it's an unfortunate one because like you saw the takeover took like 0.25 seconds, and then there was still another 5 seconds of race left, right? So that super speed ended up doing that. And remember, Shelly's not very good at physical exertion, so they just death. There we go. Died. Brain exploded. Well, imploded, and it's GG. This means that Shooty wins. Then we get a recovery center, because remember, there's a recovery center in the show. Not everybody dies, whatever. When did they invent that? Because, like, what? Okay, can't they just revive the queen? Why is the game show's curse? Okay, bro, revive them. I don't know. Presumably they didn't do that. I didn't invent that. However, it just so happens that the prize has been stolen. Oh no, the prize has been stolen. Who took it? I don't know. Do we know who took it? I mean, I didn't. I mean, like, I watched the episode, and now, of course, I've given the skim through of it. So, like, what happened? Do we know? I mean, I feel like we would know, but I don't know. I feel like we would know, but we don't know. Like, who's missing? I feel like, I don't know. I don't really know who took the ticket. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe that's the setup. Hold on. Is there supposed to be an episode 14 of the show? I think there is. I think I remember looking this up one time. That the show wasn't, because I looked it up once to see if the show was done, right? But there's an episode 14 that's incoming, but it's not been worked on, and then it's canceled. Okay, so maybe that was what it's gonna do. It want to show off, like, oh, who took the ticket or whatever. So maybe that's what it was doing. Okay, that's interesting. Then we end up having the outro of the pizza party. Of course, Pizza doesn't like the pizza. Doesn't like being at a pizza party because, of course, it's eating pizzas. That makes sense. We end up having the show off of the actual votes, which, of course, align up with the rankings of the challenge themselves. Thank you for voting. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the long journey. That was Brawl of the Objects. No problem. I watched it. No problem, man. I watched it like 8 years late. Does that sound good? I watched it 8 years late. All right, I have no problem. But yeah, and then we have Pinecone, who shows up, and then tries to flirt with the ladies, and then all of the ladies escape. So yeah, it was not exactly a successful flirt and attempt from Pinecone, but at least Pinecone grew. So yeah, you see what I mean? Like, the times they do grow, so you kind of go from small Pinecone to big Pinecone, right? So there we go. That is Brawl of the Objects. Yeah. All right. So that is cool. That was a good finale. That was a finale that, after seeing episode 12 and feeling like how, like, I don't know, from looking at episode 12, it didn't really feel like the love for the show was there. It feel like it was so kind of against some of the ideas of the show, right? Some of the characters of the show, some of the characteristics of the show, and trying to switch it up at the last second. That was like, I didn't really feel the love was there. This episode, love's all there. Love is all dumped onto it. I mean, dunked onto it, like in a bucket, like an industrial freaking, like, motor. What is dumped onto it? Because you can really feel it. It's thought of everything. It does everything. It keeps the vibe of the show. It's elevated. It shows off all the plot. It adds in fun. It's funny. It's fun. It's cool. It's lighthearted, as the show is. It's simple. At the end of the day, it's simple, like the show is. It doesn't get hijacked by an evil rook, like I was worried might have happened. It was just we're just chilling, right? And it's just a fun episode of a show. Like Brawl of the Objects, and it closes off Brawl of the Objects in a nicely veiled book. It closes off Brawl of the Objects in a nice, nearly perfect little book for what is an object show that was absolutely, in my opinion, ahead of its time. I mean, like, even though, like, just shows took a while to get to the level that this show was, right? Because, like, okay, I understand. We looked at the remasters, right, of it, so the technical quality wasn't quite there. But I'm not even talking the technical quality, which was still not bad. It was still not bad, the technical quality of those original episodes, right? Even if the technical quality wasn't bad in those original episodes, right, we're still, like, looking in at these, at like, a very creative set of challenges, right? At a very nice, relatively consistent set of production for that early set, right? With like its unique vibes, unique challenges, taking advantage of unique skill sets like music production and all this stuff for inputting it. And it was like, it's that level where like shows from that time frame were not that level, you know? Like, it took a while for shows to do that, you know? Even like original Overload, like even the Overload ends up being the super popular episode. That's like a remaster that released a couple of years after, right? Like, I don't exactly remember when the II season 2 started, but like, you know, II did not start at that level. BFDI, of course, already got a lot of level. BFDI is another one of those shows that just, like, BFDI 1 through 5 is unbelievable. That shit holds up like gold. I don't know how they do it. But like, they do that well, and I feel like this is another show. It holds up well, man. It survives. It keeps the test. It takes the test of time, and it demolishes it. Right? Where like other object shows from the time that we watched, you know, like I feel like those, like they were bound by maybe by more limitations, yeah. But because you know, like, we're starting off here pretty much already with like a blue snowball microphone and all that stuff, right? But like, despite that, despite the fact that maybe started with less limitations, it took time to grow here, and I understand why this show was respected and the show was loved. Because it really did feel it was like for you know, looking at the shows from the time, you know, from the ones I know, nearly none were at the level of this, you know, in terms of creativity, in terms of taking advantage, and in terms of this stuff. It was all the highest level stuff that was possible at the time, and you know, that was possible for a kid to do at the time. You know, again, for the context, it was really nice. And I gotta give the Omega props to it. For managing to really settle it in, right? And in a way, I think one of the reasons it stands the test of time the most, like, it's simple. You know, it's simple. It's like, at the end of the day, it strikes it in simplicity. It's creative simplicity, right? Or like, it's creative, but it's never creative by making a challenge that's like a 7-step challenge with like puzzles and then it's secret and then lore and then whatever and then what, you know, like, it just does its thing, and it's nice. It's good. It's good. I really enjoyed that. I'll be honest. It's 2026. It's the big 26. Look, have you even imagined what we thought 2026 was like when this show started? When this show started in 2026, we probably thought the world was gonna be good. Wrong. Incorrect. Unfortunate. Guess try better next time. Like, I don't know, but either way, yeah, this show held up incredibly well, I would say. The remaster again definitely helped, but hey, you know, if we're remastering episodes, if we're doing just simple remaster episodes and not mass remakes, and it's working to the level that this is working, I'm very satisfied. It was an enjoyable watch. And all of the objects, absolutely GG. I see why it was one of the biggest shows of the era. I see its top dog status. I think it deserves it wholeheartedly. Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's like, it's simple. It's fun. It's good. It's got everything that a show in the era needed to be nice, while at the same time having that creativity and love and passion put into it that, you know, made it special. So yeah, it had the right recipes, and for the time where, you know, resources were less, everybody was growing, everybody was trying to learn, everybody was trying to figure it out how to do this. This definitely was one of the standouts. So absolutely huge GG to all the objects for existing. So yeah. Will we ever see any other Anthony Call shows? Maybe. I mean, apparently there's, I think that episode 14 about the objects that might exist. However, I think that's been cancelled. I'm going to be honest. I think as time has progressed further and further away from like 2024, right, we're getting more and more to the era of like, we're fine, right? Brawl the objects, it's cool, but it's a thing that happened, right? And it's a thing that's like, you know, done with. So I think I can respect that there wouldn't be another episode. I mean, I don't know what the other episode would have. The other episode would be like a bonus. It'd be like a bonus features on a DVD, right? So like, it wouldn't necessarily be that good, I would say. You know, like, it wouldn't be necessary. It could be there, right? It could be there. It would be nice. However, it's not necessary, right? It's not like, oh, if the episode had episode 14 about be the best thing ever. Like, it would be cool, but it wouldn't be like a game changer, right? Whereas, like some other shows where, like all kinds of bar we through continue would be great. However, in a show like this, it's like it's wrapped up in a nicely veil. And I mean, like, you can put a strawberry on top of the cake, but like the cake's already pretty good, like you don't really need to do that. So yeah, and in terms of other object shows and stuff, no, that's not happening, right? That would never, I think is one of those situations where, yeah, we're firmly out of that career path, we're firmly out of that selection path. Majority of those original, object show creators, I don't think are interested in working on and making their own anymore. I think they're rather, input them into new stuff, right? Yeah, I don't know how to really say it, we are developing, like, a lot of them don't keep up because I think a lot of them like have either sort of quit, or they've grown into positions at the bigger shows, and then they've kind of been like, I'll just work here, right? Kind of like Zany Leaf style, whereas where I think like the drive to make your own is not really there. So like we're kind of leaving the old guard to sort of develop and flourish the shows that are ongoing, right? And like if there's any old shows that's still going on, like Paper Puppets, that's just on accident. I feel like if Paper Puppets was done, we'd be. I don't know. I feel that if there wouldn't be. There's not anything else that Paper Puppets Take Two. It's just that Paper Puppets Take Two happens to take a really long time. So I think it's in the same ballpark. It takes ages, right? So yeah, I feel like like the older guard ends up kind of allowing themselves to just work on the bigger shows, and then kind of like the new guard that comes in, they're the ones that have to mix the shows and have to sit and have to make the mission statements to get new shows out there. But for the OG fellas, they made the mark in the time frame. Now they're chilling, doing different careers, doing different things. That's all cool. Shout out to y'all. Brawl the Objects, it was cool. It was a fun watch. I now feel truly one step closer to understanding object shows. That this is one of the big ones, one of the biggest ones ever in history. Outro. Okay, that will be all for this episode. You might have heard a voice in the background in the last chat about the last episode, and it's still here. There's people talking. Phone number. I'm not the only one that can yap in this household. And that is all the objects. And that closed off the Golden Week, which apparently was the Golden 2 weeks. It was the Golden Bye Week, because I am slow and I underestimated that big shows are big. So my bad, Like, fun fact, I originally looked at the Brawl the Object. I was like, yeah, I could get that done in one day. It's like 2 hours and a half. Nope, wrong. Look at the timestamp. It wasn't exactly great. Why am I so high energy today? I'm out here sounding like party hat. I'm out here sounding like part. I'm stealing your OC. I'm voice acting. What am I doing, bro? It was fun. It was cool. And overall, we can now resume to a little bit of a more normal schedule. No schedule for as much as the object show community allows, of course, because. You never know. Maybe a new big show is gonna release an episode. Maybe a new show that's on episode 14 is gonna release it. Then okay, well that's 2 episodes for that, right? So yeah, but we're gonna presumably get back into a little bit of a mix of taking a look at previously covered stuff. Hopefully, starting to try to make some more progress in the request, because this is a request, right? Because like I always try to take a look at least the oldest request, because I don't want to ever skip a queue, right? And it just so happened that the requests were back to back from freaking months ago, where Bean Show, and then afterwards it was Brawl the Objects, right? So like to get the request untangled, I needed to do both of these episodes. However, of course, with so much other stuff to watch, that ended up being a little bit of a problem. But I think that with that we are looking pretty good. we are seeming pretty good to hopefully free it up a little bit. Again, I know you might be hearing me in this outro and being like, oh my god, request, I can do one of those. Gonna be honest, like fully honest with you right now. If you make a request, I am unlikely to see it for ages. I'm sorry, it's just time. It's time, you know, like yeah. So I can't, you know, it's the unfortunate current status of it. I hope that I can get closer, but it's just the time that the shows will allow, right? If the shows requested are fast, then I can do that. But a lot of times shows requested are not fast because, you know, why would you request me to watch something that's 2 minutes long, right? So it ends up being a little bit more complicated. But yeah, we're gonna keep the train chugging along in the way that it always has, and we're gonna see where it takes us. For this episode 4, Brawl of the Objects, we are all caught up. It's time for the next episode in the next days. See you next time. Goodbye. Bye. But row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily. Goodbye. Bye.